Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. Earlier that night in the Hokage Tower. In his office, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor, known to all as Third Hokage, was watching over Naruto and Satsuki through his crystal ball as the two said genin slept together. The old man gave a calm and happy smile at the sight of the two children sleeping so soundly. So, Naruto-kun found out about Satsuki-chan's real gender. He stated the obvious in a mutter. What Satsuki and many didn't know was that he along with the shinobi side of the council had known the truth of who was the last Uchiha all along. Though the old Hokage could have told not only the rest of the council along with the whole village, but he had decided to let Satsuki go on with her little plan of hiding her gender as he and the shinobi council didn't want her to suffer at the hands of the selfish and possibly lecherous civilian council. The old Hokage knew full well that by law he would have to force the Uchiha heiress into the CRA after the entire Uchiha clan's massacre, but he also knew that would surely cause her to have a mental breakdown and possibly hate the village. So he decided he would rather risk the trouble of hiding her true gender as long as possible than to let that poor girl suffer such a fate. That and he also had a sadistic desire to see the civilian council's horrified reaction when the time came for the girl to reveal the truth. Now then, Hiruzen got out as he went to the drawers of his desk and pulled out some documents. After this sudden but pleasant turn of events, I better make some changes to the team squads. He decided as he went through the team documents. He was originally going to place Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura together. After all, it was always the format to place the best, top kunoichi and the dead last together, but realized that was a plan for disaster. After all, the only way for this type of team to work was if one of them must be the heart to unite them together. This format always worked in the past because there was always a heart when the actual test began. But not in this case. Though it would be an act, Sasuke and Naruto would be constantly fighting each other. He knew that wouldn't be a problem because Satsuki knew she had to fight side by side as Naruto would do so as well. No, the problem for this specific team would be the third member as Sakura would have just fawned over Sasuke and not even care for Naruto let alone his safety. He then went over said third member's name and looked over her file. While Sakura is indeed a very gifted girl in terms of intellectual skills, she is more suited as a genjutsu type, so I would be best for not just Satsuki-chan and Naruto-kun's sakes but for her own if I place her on Kurenai's team to become more experienced with genjutsu and switch her with Hinata. He concluded as he then gave a small sigh. Though I also hope Kurenai doesn't take this too badly, she did want to have Hinata on her team. Hopefully she can bond with Sakura with this change of team members. Plus I am hoping that with Kurenai as her sensei, Sakura would snap out of her fangirl obsession. He added. Then the old Hokage gave a small amusing chuckle. That and it would help out our shy little Hyuga. He then said. It was an obvious fact to everyone that Hinata had a crush on Naruto, but was too shy to say it. Heck, even most of the Jonin and some Anbu in the village made one large bet for who would confess first and when. It was actually more like a pool. Some guessed she would confess at the earliest when she graduated while others bet it would bet when she was in her 20s, and one or two actually bet that it would be Naruto to be the one to confess to her. That would be the day. He thought to himself as he then began to think seriously. This should balance out the teams well enough. Not to mention with Hinata-chan on Naruto-kun's team, she is bound to at least get a confidence boost. After all, Naruto-kun has the uncanny ability to bring out the good to those who open up to him. Hiruzen muttered with a smile as he finished the new team placements. He then gently palmed his face in exhaustion as he went back to doing the dreaded paperwork, cursing the fourth Hokage for giving him back the Hokage position when he died. Now don't get him wrong, he still loves being the Hokage. At still being able to protect his precious Konoha, he would still protect his home, but I should had been in retirement by now. He shouted to the sky. The next day, as the sun was beginning to rise, a rooster crowed out the welcome a new day, while also waking Naruto up. Though he responded by throwing a kunai at it and nearly hit the unfortunate bird, but it missed by a few inches. This made the poor animal to become terrified as it jumped to the ground, landing right on top of a civilian that was taking an early walk and began to peck and scratch at his face. The man screamed in pain as he tried to get the rooster off his face. Damn it. Stupid bird Datbao. Naruto groaned at being wake up too early. As he began to wake up, he then looked over to his side and saw the still sleeping Satsuki. The sight of the peaceful looking girl made him smile. She looks so peaceful, he admitted with a smile. How I got lucky enough to get to know her in such a short time is beyond me. He added, but he was very happy for getting to know Satsuki. But before he could continue enjoying the moment, Naruto suddenly began to smell something terrible, like a cross between a dead carcass and old spoiled milk, wafting around him. The hell? He got out as he pulled his collar away from him and sniffed the inside, confirming that the smell was coming from him. Geez, I reek. Gah, I can't go outside smelling like this. If I do, then the civilians will complain that I'm trying to off them with my bad smell, not that it would stop them from complaining either way. He muttered as he took one last look at Satsuki, hoping she wouldn't mind him using her bath. I'm sure she won't mind, he thought to himself. Moving carefully out of the bed while trying to make sure he didn't wake Satsuki, Naruto left the room to go find and take a bath. Naruto was in awe at how tidy and spacious Satsuki's place was compared to his crappy apartment. He walked around for a few moments before finding the bathroom. The bath was pretty big enough for 3 people to bathe comfortably at once. Whoa, this definitely beats my dinky old bathtub. I usually have to share with the mobs, he commented as he was baffled by the size of the huge bathtub that also had a shower attachment. Naruto then started the shower, and while the bath was filling up, he began to pull his clothes off. They were still a bit sticky with sweat from yesterday's intense training and the matches he had with Satsuki. Naruto, now fully, he walked into the bath and closed the door behind him, though he forgot to lock it. The warm water felt like heaven as he could literally feel the dirt and sweat wash off him, letting his body relax. As Naruto soaked his body and relaxed his muscles, he went over what happened yesterday in his mind. It was all very confusing, and he wasn't completely sure what to do, or even what to say, to Satsuki, though he did plan to help her out however he could as he gave his word and he had no intention of going against it. Meanwhile, back with said Uchiha, Satsuki began to slowly open her eyes, then she began to move her hand around the side where Naruto slept and found it to be empty. This made her fully awake as she immediately wondered where her new friend was at when she didn't feel his presence in the room anymore. Naruto-kun, she muttered out as she hadn't yet realized that she was blushing when she thought of Naruto as her friend. Satsuki stood up from her bed, stretching her arms into the air with a loud yawn. She left her bedroom and walked around her apartment, looking for her former classmate. Naruto, however, was nowhere to be seen. Did he already leave? He didn't even say goodbye. Satsuki guessed as she sighed, sad that he would leave without even saying goodbye. Suddenly, Satsuki's concentration was broken by a foul smell. It didn't take her long to realize that the smell was coming from her. I better go take a bath and wash up. Thanks to what happened, I never quite got a chance to take a shower. She remembered. I feel so gross. I don't understand how some guys can handle being smelly like this. She then groaned in disgust and annoyance as she quickly made her way to the bathroom. After closing the door behind her, Satsuki began to strip off yesterday's clothes. Since she let Naruto sleep in her bed, Satsuki had to stay in the same clothes she had worn after her original clothes were shredded from the match from the night before. If she had woken up first and tried changing, she would have risked waking Naruto up, giving him another eyeful of her natural-born self, again. After tossing her sweat-drenched clothes to the side, Satsuki wrapped a towel around herself, and stood just in front of the door, ignorant of its other occupant. A nice shower will help me get cleaned up, she decided as she went back to thinking about how her new friend, unaware of the pink blush on her face. Meanwhile, Naruto had just finished up as he got out and covered himself with a towel, tying it around his waist and using another one to dry his shaggy golden blonde hair. Ah, he sighed contentedly as he was cracking his neck. That was nice. Way better than what I could get in my apartment bathroom. He thought as he opened the door to find Satsuki, with nothing but a towel on. It took a moment before either of them realized what was standing before them, causing Satsuki brain shut down, causing her dropped her towel around her body, exposing her very impressive yet still growing yet again. Ah! Both ninja to be screamed in shock at the sights in front of them that when Naruto attempted to take a few steps back he stepped on a bar of soap and fell back into the bath, hitting his head on tube's edge while Satsuki was curled into a ball on the opposite wall, trying to cover as much of her body as possible, and her face was crimson red from embarrassment from being seen yet again. Within the seal, the Kyuubi then woke up to the screams. Oh, what now? He grumbled in annoyance before then saw the Uchiha and felt his Jinchuriki in pain as it didn't take the Biju long to connect the dots. Bwahahaha. He began to laugh his off at the ridiculous but also hilarious way to start the day while his nose bled from the size of the girl's rack. After a few moments, Naruto regained his composure and Satsuki wrapped her fallen towel back around her body, with the situation becoming extremely awkward as they both attempted not to look at each other's lack of clothing. The towels left nothing to the imagination. Satsuki then started to blush madly as she couldn't help but take a peek at Naruto. Oh Kami. He's so rip. Those muscles are huge. She thought unintentionally as she stared at her male friend. I wonder how big. No perverted thoughts, she added as she then shook her head back and forth as she couldn't help but admire his lean and muscular body. Naruto was also blushing madly as well, but for a different reason. Whoa, do all girls in a clan have big like that? I mean, we're only 12 for Kami's sake and she already has an stop thinking like that. He thought as he drank in her hourglass figure and the sizable mounds on her chest, which were only covered by a tiny towel. It's official. You hit puberty. Kyuubi commented as he laughed his off again. Though it seems that the Uchiha went through it way before you with her rack. He added. Shut it, was all Naruto could retort as he once again tried desperately not to think of said girl's assets. Then after another few moments their curiosity of the opposite gender finally won over as the two turned around at the same time and they froze in place as they kept staring at each other, admiring each other's bodies while not knowing what to say to the other. Soon after what felt like hours, Satsuki finally recovered from her self-trance as she broke the silence. I'm sorry about this, Naruto-kun. She apologized, feeling as though it was her fault. To this response, Naruto finally recovered of his own trance. It's alright, Satsuki-chan. I should have left a note saying where I went off to. He responded, as he began to rub the back his head to get rid of the pain. That really hurt, he thought to himself. Which is surprising considering you're thick-headed. Kyuubi commented with another chuckle. Naruto only groaned in annoyance, though made sure not let Satsuki saw or hear it, or risk making her believe it was for her. Satsuki meanwhile was trying to figure out what she should say. I'm glad you found the bath though, it looks like we really went all out last night with our sparring match. Her voice trembled slightly, only half sure of what she was saying. This got Naruto's attention as he turned his head back towards Satsuki. Yeah, sorry I used your bath without asking. I didn't wanna go out smelling like I did. He explained, as he was just as nervous as the girl in front of him. This started to calm Satsuki down a little as she looked at the blonde genin. No problem, if you want I can lend you some of my Sasuke clothes, I'm pretty sure they'll fit you. She then offered. Naruto nodded his head, sure, that'd be great, thanks. He said with much gratitude in his voice as he began to calm down. Still not quite aware of what she was saying, Satsuki slightly tilted her head as a question popped into her head. Do you want me to show you where my Sasuke clothes are? She then bluntly asked before her eyes widened. Why did I ask him that? She then thought in a panic as she realized that would be saying to change together. Naruto wasn't doing much better as he looked at her. Yeah, thanks again, he calmly said before he too then realized what he had just said. What am I doing? Say no, you idiot. He also thought in a panic, wanting to reject the offer, but now couldn't as that would make the poor girl feel like a pervert. Satsuki then turned around, unintentionally giving Naruto a look at her shapely rear which made said blonde blush red at the sight, and gestured for him to follow her by wagging her finger. Okay then, just follow me then Naruto-kun. She then requested, trying to sound calm, but inwardly, she was panicking like mad over the situation as she didn't even realize she added kun again to Naruto's name. Oh Kami, what am I doing? What will Naruto-kun think of me acting like this? She panicked in her mind as she felt a little dizzy from all the blood rushing to her head. In the seal meanwhile, the Kyuubi could feel the emotions leaking from the girl as he smirked at the sight, knowing how she was really feeling. Oh, the irony of it all, he said to himself. The two young genin walked in an awkward silence. Nothing was said out loud, but their heads wouldn't shut up as they tried to think of what to say next. Damn it, what the hell should I do? It was a miracle I was able to handle this last night, but now. Naruto's thoughts trailed off as his eyes slowly started to wander down and stare at Satsuki's swinging hips and shapely butt, the towel teased to expose it at any moment. The bottom of her rear suddenly stuck out from the towel, immediately causing Naruto's hormones go insane, but it wasn't as if no one could blame him. The towel Satsuki had on was incredibly small and she, who unconsciously clutched it closer to her chest, didn't help keep the side currently facing Naruto covered. This made their walk feel like miles instead of down the hall. She got a nice ass, huh? Kyuubi commented offhandedly as Naruto could feel the shit-eating grin on the fox's face. While said blonde couldn't even retorted from his face being crimson red as he couldn't even defend himself from something he was clearly did, which made the Biju only chuckle more. As they then finally reached the room, Satsuki opened the door and pointed to the closet. My Sasuke clothes are in there, you can use anything that fits. She then explained, unaware of what her towel was doing as she continued to hold it. Naruto could only nod his head as he finally broke away from staring at her rear. Thanks Satsuki-chan, I owe you one. He couldn't help but honestly say. Hearing Naruto thank her made Satsuki blush instantly at being called her name with such familiarity. No problem. She stuttered with much shyness in her tone. Why am I stuttering? And why is my heart pounding so fast? I feel like it's about to burst out of my chest. She thought, worrying about what was going on with herself. Naruto went to walk into the room, while the still absent-minded Satsuki also tried to enter her room, but since the door was for single-person use, it caused both of them to brush against each other, and since they were wearing nothing but towels when their bare skins touch each other as they felt the body heat of the other, which made them blush dark red. This caused both preteens to turn towards the other and jump back, each hitting their backs against the nearest wall to them. The two just stared into each other's eyes as their face still dark red, not knowing what to say. Then their eyes slowly began to descend and the both of them got another look at the other's body, which made their red face turn redder. After a moment or two they finally calmed down enough, and this time it was Naruto who broke the silence. Sorry about that Satsuki-chan. My fault, I wasn't thinking. He got out. Satsuki's blush became deeper crimson as she then shook her head in response. No problem, could have happened to anybody. She replied, trying to get rid of the awkwardness. Naruto chuckled lightly, trying to get rid of the awkwardness around them. Yeah, could happen to anyone, he said with his usual grin and rubbed the back of his head. Wow, this is such a fascinating conversation, isn't? Kyuubi commented with a sweat drop as he was now finding this situation really annoying now. If you're going to keep apologizing, do it after actually doing something good like groping her or her rear that you like staring so much. He added as he leaned on his huge human-like paw. Will you shut up already? Naruto roared with much embarrassment of being reminded of that little fact. The Biju just snorted. Not my fault, you were the one that woke me up. He countered, only to hear a groan in response from his host, which made the Biju smirked at being proved right. Satsuki's blush soon became even darker as she saw the smile. I'll go take a bath and then I'll make breakfast for the both of us, if that's alright. She soon offered. Sure. Naruto responded. Then when he saw her leave towards the bathroom, he closed the door to change. Once fully alone, he leaned on the door and gave a big sigh of frustration. What in Kami's name is wrong with me? I acted like a total moron. Why do I feel this way every time I'm around Satsuki-chan? He then asked himself. I mean, I still like Sakura-chan. But Satsuki-chan. She accepted me as a friend. And Sakura-chan wouldn't even consider the thought of being my friend, she would hit me whenever I even try to talk to her. He then admitted. The QB merely chuckled to that as he listened in. Sounds like the kid's crush is beginning to change its focus. He then thought. From an annoying bitch to a busty babe, nice transition, even if she is an Uchiha. He soon added in his head, though he really didn't felt any hatred towards the girl, he still said her last name with hatred in his tone. Meanwhile, back inside the bathroom, Satsuki started the water again as she held the towel tightly to cover her body from exposure. After it finally filled up, she released the towel and went into the tub. After letting out a sigh of relief over the warm water soaking her body, she began to gather her thoughts of everything that had happened last night all the way to right now. That was when a realization coming to her. Kun. I called Naruto that at the end of his name. She muttered as a small blush adored her face. Her father had always told her that honorifics were to be used with the utmost care, and that using them in the wrong circumstance could mean a lot of trouble for the family, though most Uchihas almost never used such honorifics to those they don't deem worthy, they still were very careful when using them. Though she never liked that aspect, she still understood that about always being careful with honorifics, but after only one night with someone she thought she hated after acting like Sasuke for so long, she didn't know what to do now. As Satsuki was still sitting down in the warm waters, she soon began to look at the ceiling, more precisely at the window that was in the middle as the steam escaped from it, as she stared at the clear blue sky. Why did I ask him to stay with me for the night? She then suddenly asked, wondering what came to her when she made that request. Then she remembered the way Naruto told her that he would help keep her secret. This made her hug her legs close to her chest. Why do I feel as though I can trust him? And why do I feel so safe around him? It was never like that before. Satsuki thought in realization as a light pink blush appearing on her cheeks while more thoughts of the blonde boy came to mind. Naruto-kun. Who are you really? She then unintentionally asked to herself as she placed one hand to her heart while she kept thinking of Naruto. Back at Satsuki's room, Naruto was looking through the clothes inside of Satsuki's closet as he couldn't find any he liked. Damn, no orange, he muttered while still looked for something that would match his tastes. Though as he continued to look, he realized that the main colors of Sasuke's clothes were dark blue and white. After a bit of looking through the clothes, his eyes widened a bit. Oh, Naruto got out as he pulled out a black leather jacket. This'll do, I guess. He decided as he then eventually did found something. Jackpot, he said with excitement as he found an orange undershirt, so he decided to wear that and a pair of black jeans. On his feet he wore black ninja sandals. After he was finished putting on everything, he looked at himself in a mirror that was in the room. Now Naruto may not be a very fashionable guy, but even he knew this looked good. Not bad, Dadbeo, he admitted with a smirk as he left and headed to the living room area. When Naruto arrived at the living room of Satsuki's apartment, he found a discarded black headband on the table and tied it around his head. I hope Satsuki-chan won't mind, I'll give it back later. He thought, not wanting her to think he was a thief. Once he did that, he then got an idea. I'll send some clones out to go and train. He then decided as he made 15 clones. Alright guys, get to the usual training spot and train your asses off. After a couple of hours of training, dispel yourself one at a time, got it? He ordered. The clones then saluted to him. You got it, boss, they said in unison. One by one, they headed out the window and headed for the training ground. In the seal, the QB scoffed at this. You wouldn't even have known about this had I not told you about that jutsu hidden ability. He retorted. This made Naruto remembered when the QB had told him. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto was sitting down in the middle of the training field, thinking over all the jutsus he just got. Practicing, eating, mastering my new jutsu. Air bullet, mud wall, beast wave palm that QB gave me an exploding clone. Naruto listed off all the jutsu. So many things to do, Dadbayo. He then groaned out. Now don't get him wrong, he loves learning new jutsus, it's just he didn't even know where to even begin at learning them. Alright, I guess I'll start with the air bullet. Naruto decided as he went to read the instructions of said jutsu he copied from the scroll. It was simple enough, gathered both regular and wind chakra inside of his lungs and then expelled condensed bullets. Simple enough, he said with an obvious tone, not even knowing just how hard this jutsu was for a genin. Little dumbass, the QB then remarked in annoyance as he waited for the inevitable. Naruto began to take a few deep breaths to get his lungs extended as it was a tip the scroll recommended. After he was done he did a small nod. Alright, let's get this jutsu done, Dadbayo. He cheered as he began to make the necessary hand signs and send his normal chakra in his throat and tried to condense it without wind chakra. Here we go. Wind style air bullet, he thought to himself as he then tried to expel the condensed chakra from his throat only for it to expand instead. He shouted in pain as he fell to his knees and could feel his throat ready to explode as he then fell on his face. Bwahahaha. The QB then began laughing at the results he knew that would happen. Then after a few minutes of waiting for his throat to heal, Naruto decided to try out another jutsu. Let's try something that isn't from inside my body. Quote. He said with a sore throat, he went to the second one on the list. Let's try the mud wall. He decided as he began to read the instruction the old man gave him. The user must mold his earth chakra on his arms and then place them on the ground, then using the concentrated chakra, the user will force a earth table to come upwards to create a shield. He read as again he shrugged. Simple enough. He said again. Why do I feel a pattern coming? QB then commented with a chuckle. Naruto soon began to make the hand signs and concentrate chakra to his arms. He figured since he is forcing a huge earth shield from the very earth it should cost a lot of chakra. Alright, let's do this. Earth style. Mud wall jutsu. He declared with excitement. The blonde genin smiled with happiness when he started to feel the earth moving. It's working. He shouted as he thought he was a genius to make it on the first try, but whoosh. Naruto got out in confusion as he was now flying in midair as the ground had turned into a pitfall. Ah! He shouted as he fell right into the pitfall. Bwahahahaha. The QB again began to laugh at the result yet again. After Naruto managed to get out of the pitfall, his was completely covered in dirt. Okay, let's try it later. He concluded as he began to dust himself off before spitting some dirt out of his mouth. Bleg. He spat out. Once he was more or less clean enough, he went down the list again and decided to try out the beast wave palm. Okay, I hope this will be easier, after all it's a jutsu to be sent away from the user. He concluded as he then began to recall how QB told him to perform the jutsu. Okay, he said that I should gather wind chakra around my hand and then once I gather enough I should do a vertical slash and that should do it. He said what the Biju told him. Wonder how he'll screw this up. QB thought with a smirk. Naruto then went through the hand signs once more as soon ended with the dog sign he gathered a lot of chakra into his hand. Wind style. Beast wave palm. He declared as he did a vertical slash. Rip. Tear. Slash. Naruto stood there for a moment or two as he saw his jacket torn apart, leaving him completely shirtless as he then felt an ungodly pain while his hand got a lot of cuts and gashes. Ah! He screamed in pain. Okay, that was my fault, should had told him to master some of the finer points before using that one. Kyubi remarked with a sweat drop as he began to send some of his chakra to heal the wounds. After a few more moments, Naruto's hand was completely healed thanks to the fox's chakra. Oh, okay, let's try the last jutsu where I know I won't be hurt, he said as he read the final jutsu in the list. Exploding clone. This jutsu has a stronger variety of the shadow clone where the regular clone gets double the necessary chakra and it will condense it into its center, then when fully condensed it will explode in a violent explosion. Warning: this jutsu requires even more chakra than the normal shadow clone or risk dying from chakra exhaustion. He read the instructions. Now this should be easier, I only have to give my clone more chakra than normal and that should be it. He concluded with a smile. Yeah, he shouldn't even. Kyubi tried to think with deadpan, already knowing how this was going to end, but it was too late. Naruto then did his signature seal as he made an attempt to a clone. Shadow clone jutsu, he shouted as he gave this one clone more chakra than normal. When he saw that the clone came out fine, he smirked. Yes, now do it, he told the clone with excitement. He was so excited that he forgot to make space between the clone and himself, so when the clone did as he was told. Boom. Naruto was now in the center of the explosion with his whole body black from said explosion. Oh Kami, damn it, Dadbao, he then yelled, completely annoyed of the results. Bwahahahaha. Kyubi was then laughing so hard that he actually was feeling pain from laughing so hard. Then after calming down enough he wiped the tear that came from too much laughter. Hey Kit, he soon began. What? Naruto replied as he was clearly not in the mood to deal with him. Why don't you just use your clones to do those damaging jutsus? Kyubi finished with honest curiosity. This instantly put a hold on Naruto's anger as he stared with a dumb expression on his face. What? Was all he could say. You know, what the scroll said about the other part of the shadow clones? Kyubi remarked as he began to recall said part. Anything that the shadow clones do or see will be transferred back to the user. In other words, if the clones do a jutsu, you should remembered how they did it, he said. Naruto stood still for a good minute as his eyes then became hollow as he began to process what he just said and what he just experienced. Kit? Kyubi asked when his Jinchuriki was quiet for a whole minute. What? Are you fucking kidding me? What the hell, damn it? Why didn't you tell me, Dadbao? Naruto exploded with uncontrollable fury. You never asked. The Kyubi simply responded with a witty smirk on his face. For all the remainder of the day, the sound of hundreds of Naruto's cursing could be heard at the training grounds while they were practicing their jutsus, that and the sound of explosions, tears and screaming of pain too. Meanwhile on a nearby tree branch, a mask-figured only sweat dropped, as he wondered what the cursing was really about. Kai. Naruto then sweat dropped at remembering that time. Not. One of my best moments, Dadbao, he admitted with a depressed tone. Kyubi could only chuckle at that. You're the one that decided not to fully read the jutsu's full effects and only focus on the first sentence of the description kit. He then remarked, reminding his container of what happened. Just shut up, you annoying erotic fox. Naruto then grumbled out, clearly not wanting to be reminded of the events as he waited for the female Uchiha. Back in the bathroom, Satsuki had soon finished her bath, drying herself off as she did. Her mind began to wander between what happened yesterday to all that had happened after the massacre. True, she still had the occasional nightmares of that fateful day, but it was then that she realized that last night it was the first time that she had a very peaceful and pleasant sleep in a long time. But why? She muttered in slight confusion as the image of a certain blonde came to mind. Could it be that it was because of me opening up to someone? She then added as a small blush appeared on her cheeks. I'll worry about that later. She then decided as she watched the water drain from the tub. Finally finishing with what she was doing in the bathroom, Satsuki went back into her room as she got changed. As she walked back, she remembered something important. Team selections is today, huh? She got out as remembered that the 1 week break had finally ended. I wonder who will be on my team. She wondered out loud, as she had to admit, she was a little curious about who she would be with. After Satsuki had entered her room, she noticed that Naruto wasn't there. He must be downstairs. She figured as she used this opportunity to use the binding tape to hold her. Hjorts. She groaned out as she wrapped the tape around her chest, this being the one thing that the young preteen hated with passion, having to use binding tape to keep her obvious female trait hidden. It's always a pain having to do this every single day, but I have to do this. She complained before a revolting thought appeared in her mind, shivering at the possibility of one of the Sasuke fangirls being placed as her teammate. Dear Kami, please don't let that happen. She muttered to herself before she got herself dressed in an outfit Sasuke would wear and headed for the kitchen to make breakfast. As she walked downstairs, she saw that Naruto was aimlessly staring off into space. I guess he's deep in thought, I'll leave him to his business. She thought with a gentle smile. What Satsuki didn't know, however, was that Naruto would always remained in this state every time a clone either disappeared after he successfully did a jutsu or the clone had failed at performing it. This would send the experience the clone obtained to the original. The Uchiha heiress then finally entered the kitchen where she got her mother's old apron on. Better make the usual, except I have a guest today. She decided as she once again blushed again at being reminded that she had a friend now. Is this how Hinata Hyuga feels about him? Now I understand why she always stutters around him. She thought to herself. Like many, she too knew about the shy little Hyuga's obvious crush on Naruto. Though she always had to keep her Sasuke appearance, she always thought that Hinata looked really cute whenever she looked at Naruto and blushed cutely that she would always squealed on the inside whenever she saw her act like that. I think Hinata-chan would be the only girl I could handle. She admitted in her head. Then after a giggle escaped her lips, she went to make her family's special breakfast curry and the aroma filled the air. After another clone had dispelled from overtraining, Naruto was stretching his limbs as he thought that one was the last clone he made. Man, that was a good workout, getting a little better on my jutsus, but I still have long way to go. He admitted as he suddenly smelled something good. Satsuki-chan must be making breakfast. He thought as he followed the smell, leading him to the kitchen. When he reached the kitchen, he saw Satsuki with the apron on as she was setting the table. The apron was a light blue color, as it had the Uchiha symbol in the middle and had white snowflakes around it. Kami, she looks cute. He thought with a small blush on his face as he finally began to approach her, as he couldn't help but think that she looked attractive in the apron. Damn, if only she was wearing just the apron. QB committed as he began to chuckle pervertedly while sending the lewd images to his container. In return, Naruto blushed crimson red at the images, but he quickly recovered as he refrained from retorting to the perverted Biju. Yo, morning Satsuki-chan. He called out to get her attention as he gave her a true smile, while he began to wave his hand towards the female Uchiha. This slightly startled the Uchiha to the point that it nearly made her drop the food, and when she regained her balance, she then turned to see Naruto in his current outfit. Oh hi Naruto-kun. Satsuki stuttered out with a noticeable blush on her face at both seeing Naruto's in his new outfit and the smile that he was giving her. Wow, he looks really nice in those. She thought to herself, as she was thankful that the blonde didn't notice her blushing face. I made some of my family's special breakfast curry. I hope you enjoy it. She then explained as she turned back to the food to try to distract herself from seeing the blonde. Naruto then pulled out the chair and sat down. Curry? He asked as he tilted his head slightly as he looked at the food. It looks pretty good, I never had curry before. He then admitted. Really? Satsuki asked in surprise as the two sat down to eat. Are you serious? She then added to the question. Naruto merely shrugged to the question. Yeah, most if now all the shop and restaurant owners always raise the prices on me, so the only food I ever really was able to either afford or to eat was Ichiraku ramen, regular cups of ramen, some groceries that I managed to get at a low price whenever Iruka sensei didn't bring me something. He casually explained the harsher parts of his life, as he never really cared about how they tried him. Quote. Kyubi said nothing to this as he remained silent while having a very serious expression on his face. Satsuki on the other hand was stupefied by this reveal as her jaw dropped slightly while her eyes widened in shock. He's only eaten ramen for most of his life. She thought as she began to feel an emotion she only ever had towards one certain person began to fill her, burning rage and anger. Why do the shop and restaurant owners raise the prices on you? They lower the prices for me personally because of my Uchiha status, but raise them on you. An orphan. That's unfair and unjustified, she exclaimed, clearly showing both anger and worry for her new friend. Naruto shrugged his shoulders as he then chuckled a little. Meh, I don't mind. I usually just prank the pricks afterward. He then explained as he said it as if it wasn't a big deal. To be honest, pranking seems to help train me in stealth so at least something good comes out of it. He then added, feeling satisfied that he pulled the successful pranks. It was a given that the Uchiha didn't look convinced in the slightest. But, still, Satsuki muttered. She was beginning feeling guilty again, after she learned so much about Naruto, from finding out that he didn't know who his parents were and that he's only ever been able to eat ramen for most of his life for some reason, she felt that she had took everything she ever had for granted. As if Naruto could feel what Satsuki was feeling, he just waved her concerns. It's alright Satsuki-chan, you don't have to worry. He said with an understanding. He pointed at the food that was in front of them. How about we eat? I'm starving, he then stated. Satsuki's face was still full of concern and worry for her new friend's harsh life. But, I can't help but to worry, she thought as she slightly narrowed her eyes as they were filled with sadness. But as she was about to say something, her stomach growled with a cute sound. This made her halt her question while also making Naruto chuckle at the sound. I guess I am too, she soon admitted with a small giggle. This managed to lighten her mood a little as they decided to just let the subject go for now. Then as Satsuki was about to take a bite, she remembered something that she forgot to ask about. Naruto-kun, she soon started. Naruto had already used a spoon to grab some of the curry, but stopped before he could take a bite. Yeah, he responded as he turned towards her. Satsuki began to slightly fidgeting her hands below the table as she thought of how to ask her question. Well, I was wonder. Why did you think Sakura was at my apartment last night? I'm just curious, she then suddenly asked. Naruto winced at the question. Oh, well. How do I explain? He then started to chuckle a little as he now thought it was kind of awkward now that he thought back on it. It was your stupid imagination running wild at the time. The Kyubi then remarked as this in turn made Naruto groan internally, knowing he couldn't deny it being true. Satsuki then gave him a confused look with an adorable tilt of her head. What? Come on, it's alright, you can tell me. She then started to give him the dreaded jutsu that make any man into a slave to a girl's wishes, the infamous, puppy eyes jutsu, that all the kunoichis and even some of the civilian ones seemed to know. Please, she pled cutely as she suddenly became even 10 times cuter while her face and eyes sparkled. Fuck. Naruto thought as even he knew that no man could resist this forbidden jutsu. He was still surprised to learn that it even was a jutsu in the first place since it was just a simple genjutsu where they increase a girl's cuteness. This made Kyubi chuckle at his host's predicament. Get used to it, kid. This will not be the last time you feel its terrible power. The Biju then commented. This once again made Naruto groan internally as he somehow knew that he was right. Well, remember when I told you about me having something kind of like a bloodline? He then asked in response. This made Satsuki recalled when Naruto said so before their match as she ended the genjutsu making herself look cute. I think I remember you mentioning that, just before we had our spar. What exactly does it do exactly? She then curiously asked. Naruto nodded to this. Yeah, though like I said it's not really a true bloodline like yours, because of this bloodline, it enhances my natural abilities, such as my sense of smell, hearing, sight. But not on the Byakugan level, it gives me a nice healing factor to help me heal real fast, and it also increases my reaction time as well. He explained, though he made sure not to say how or where did he gain this bloodline. What? You scare that she will hate or fear you? QB asked in a neutral tone as he knew that he omitted that part of the explanation. To be honest, yes. Naruto replied with honesty, as the Biju wasn't really that surprised, but before he comment on it, Naruto then continued his explanation. Well, I don't really think you're like people say you are, but I don't know how Satsuki-chan would take it. He added with the same honest tone. The Biju didn't say anything, but he did gave a small smirk to his host's honesty. I guess he really is different. He thought to himself. Satsuki meanwhile nodded her head to this explanation, getting intrigued by it. Really? So I am assuming it's similar to the Inuzuka clan, correct? She asked with a slight exciting tone, wanting to know more. Now Naruto had to think of how to respond to that, as he really could say he used his Biju's chakra to gain super level senses. Yeah. So last night after I was training, I used too much chakra that overpowered my sense of smell. This caused me to smell your scent. But I thought I smelled something completely different about it. He answered as he then blushed, this time in embarrassment. What do you mean? Satsuki asked as she gave him another confused look. Well, I smelled you, but since I didn't know about you, Naruto stated, meaning Satsuki in general. I thought I had the scent of a girl with you and He then trailed off. Satsuki once more tilted her head cutely to that. What did you end up thinking? She then asked. Naruto just sighed as he knew that he had to say it now. I thought you and Sakura-chan were doing it together, and my imagination got the best of me. He explained before he lightly chuckled, feeling completely embarrassed. Sorry about that, Satsuki-chan. My wild imagination is the reason why we really met. He then apologized. Satsuki began to process what Naruto just said as she soon looked at him with a disbelief expression. So wait a minute, Naruto-kun. You thought me? She started as she pointed at herself. Yeah, Naruto answered. And Sakura? Yup. We're about to. Together. Basically. There was an awkward silence for a moment before Satsuki started to giggle a little and then went into a full-blown laughter. Now Naruto looked at her in disbelief. He got out in confusion as he then blushed at the sight of the laughing girl. Cammy. How can someone be so cute? He admittingly thought. QB just chuckled at the display. Looks like the kits isn't the only one who is different. He thought to himself. After the young girl finished her giggle attack, Satsuki then got up from her seat and went over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder while using her other hand to hold her stomach from the remaining laughter. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, it's alright that you overreacted. I understand that it'd be confusing for you. I mean, you had no idea about me at all until last night. She responded with a kind smile. You mean you're alright with it? Naruto asked as he was half expecting getting a hit or something for saying and thinking something like that. Satsuki then giggled again. I know you like Sakura, but I'm not into her, for obvious reasons. She answered as she then winked at him. It feels good showing the real me to someone. She happily thought at having a friend to share these moments. Naruto then also began to chuckle a little. Well, at least you being a girl explains why you never responded to any of your fangirls. You know, and please don't hate me for this, but for a while I kinda assumed that you were into guys. He finished as he flinched, feeling worried that Satsuki might hit him for what he said. Satsuki stared at Naruto for a few moments before bending down and began laughing so hard until tears started falling down her cheeks while her side started to hurt. Oh Cammy. Ahahaha, I can't breath. She tried to say in between her roaring laughter. After a few moments of laughing, she leaned against Naruto before taking a few needed gasps of air. Now that I think about it, it would have been so much easier for me to say that I was if it would have helped me escape my Sasuke fangirls. After all, I am into guys. She admitted in a joking manner. This made Naruto to also laugh at the irony as well. Yeah, I guess now I know that you are into guys. He commented as they both continued to laugh loudly, though strangely for Naruto, he felt relieved of hearing that last bit from the Uchiha. After the two had finally calmed down, Satsuki then sighed and frowned as she went back to her seat. As for said fangirls, they're nothing but absolute disgraces that will get themselves killed sooner or later. She muttered but was heard. Naruto blinked a couple of times to that in confusion. What do you mean Satsuki-chan? He then asked. Satsuki sighed in response as she placed her hands on her hip. Besides Hinata and Ino, who both at least still trained, though Hinata way more than Ino might I add. She began explaining. Most of the girls shouldn't have gone to the academy as they only decided to go as to try and flirt with me, well, with Sasuke. She then continued. Naruto didn't say anything to that as he saw that more times than he could count, as he then remembered something. Same with Sakura-chan, he then asked with honest curiosity. No sooner Naruto asked that, it made Satsuki's eye twitch a little, as it took every single fiber of her being not to begin shouting in pure annoyance, but she didn't as she realized that now that she was Naruto's friend, she decided that now is the best time to make her new friend see some sense into his little obsession on the pink-haired girl. Naruto-kun, she's the worst of them all, she cares more about her appearance than her shinobi training. She soon began the new explanation while this made Naruto to become taken back to this, but before he could say anything, the Uchiha heiress continued. I will say that she may be really smart, but that's only in terms of book smarts and those aren't gonna be of much help in the field, so if she doesn't take it seriously she could end up getting herself or her teammates killed. I honestly don't get what you see in her. She may have some nice looks, but that's it, is loud, bossy, rude, and she screeches like a damn banshee that could easily destroy the entire village with her voice alone. She admitted as she crossed her arms over her chest. Cammy help the poor soul that ever marries her. Not to mention the fact that she has pink bubblegum hair. Honestly, that's really unnatural. She finalized. Naruto was slightly taken aback by this as he clearly wasn't expecting the sudden insults, but just as he was about to say something, he then heard the Kyuubi talking in his head. She got you there, Kit. The only reason you have a crush on her is because of her apparent looks and book smarts. You got a better chance with lavender eyes or the Uchiha here. He half joked, as Naruto blushed at the thought about him and Satsuki being together. After all, even he knew that Satsuki was very attractive and cute, but did wondered who he meant by lavender eyes. But Satsuki wasn't done yet. That and I think she would go and possibly turn lesbian for me if she ever found out the truth about me, that or hopefully she would finally wake up from her delusion of Sasuke obsession. But really for someone to have book smarts, she doesn't know the meaning of the word number. I mean seriously. I always say no but she seems to completely ignore or block it out from her mind and continues to go after me. She added as she shivered at the thought. Naruto was very conflicted to this as he really still liked Sakura, but he couldn't just feel mad or shout at Satsuki either. He tried to take a deep breath but he was still didn't know what to think. Seeing his face filled with nothing but confliction made Satsuki feel bad, but she knew that Naruto need to face this or he wouldn't be able to both see what Sakura really was or more importantly be able to move on from his slight obsession. Listen Naruto-kun, she began, as the blonde turned to look at her. I know you don't want to hear this, but I really want you to think of what you know of her. I mean, is she really worth getting her to like you even if it meant receiving all the pain, both physically and emotionally she does to you? She then asked with both seriousness and honesty as he looked straight at his eyes with a worried in her eyes. Naruto honesty didn't like seeing Satsuki have that look in her eyes as he really liked seeing her happy and smiled, so he decided to give some serious thought to what his new friend told him, then started to think back to all the times he tried to ask Sakura out on a date whenever they both had some free time but she would always turn him down and hit him over the head as her replied. Flashback no jutsu. At the end of the day at the academy, Sakura was walking with slouched shoulders after she lost sight of Sasuke. She wanted to ask him out yet again. Damn, I must have just missed him. Sasuke-kun, why do you reject my love? We're destined to be together. She thought with delusion. Naruto had just exited the academy when he saw the pink-hair girl. Hey Sakura-chan. He called out to her. This made Sakura to gain a very annoyed and angry expression when she heard Naruto say her name. You wanna get some ramen with me? He happily asked, wanting to have spend some time with her, however. Wham! Sakura glared at the down boy as she just punched. No, why would I want to hang out with a monster like you? She screamed at the fallen boy as she looked at him with disgust, before storming off with a mad and annoyed face. Naruto could watch at the retreating girl as he could only sigh in disappointment and sadness while he rubbed his sore cheek. Geez, that hurt Dadbao. He groaned out as he stood up and decided to just go by himself. Kai. Naruto could only remember such occasions more times he could possibly count whenever he tried to ask her out, to even simply greet Sakura, only to be answered back with a brutal punch to his face and or head. Though he really wanted to say something to think of something nice about her, but each time he remembered any occasion, it will always be the same thing. This slowly made Naruto realize just what kind of girl Sakura was. Wow, you're right, he began as he gave one final sigh of realization. Sakura is a bitch, he soon admitted as he rubbed his face, remembering another more recent time when she punched in the face. The QB simply rolled his eyes to this epiphany of the blonde. Took ya long enough to realize it? He then commented with a deadpan tone. Naruto mentally sighed at this. You don't need to rub it in. He replied to the biju. Satsuki on the other hand began to giggle again, glad that her friend was starting to realize the truth as it placed a smile on her face. Naruto-kun, I have to say that I envy you with how you have only one girl that has a crush on you. She honestly admitted as she tilted her body slightly and placed her hands on her hips again. Could I be crushing on him too? She then suddenly thought offhandedly, only to quickly shook it off when she realized. And no, I can't be. We just met like this. I mean it would be way too fast and I barely know Naruto-kun. She thought before hesitating. But, I have to at least admit, he is cute. She added in her mind as she blushed while looking at him with a smile. Naruto in turn gave her a confused look. Huh, what do you mean? He asked, not understanding what the female Uchiha meant before his brain finally processed what she just said. Wait, someone has a crush on me? He soon asked in excitement. This made Satsuki and Kyubi sweat dropped at the same time to the blonde's dense-headedness. He honestly didn't know. Everyone in the village knows it. They both thought in unison. Then a light bulb appeared on top of Satsuki's head as she gave off a cat-like smile at the idea that just came to her mind. Well Naruto-kun, here's one thing you should know about her, she's been crushing on you since before the academy. She playfully got out while winking at him. Naruto's jaw dropped to that as he then began to imagine it. No way. Someone's been crushing on me for that long. He got out as he just couldn't fathom the fact that someone would even look at him without hatred or annoyance, let alone have feelings for him. How the hell did I miss that Dadbao? He then exclaimed as he felt like banging his head against the wall for not realizing that some girl actually was in love with him. I'd be more shocked had you actually known. Kyubi said with a deadpan tone. You knew too. Naruto replied as his annoyances finally reached its peak. What the hell Dadbao? He exclaimed once more. Why not let the Uchiha tell you about your true love? Kyubi responded with a joking tone. Though deep down, he really didn't want to say anything of this particular subject. I mean, how am I supposed to do so? He thought to himself with a hint of shame. After all, he wasn't just the source of all his pain, but he was the manifestation of negative emotions. But before Naruto could ask Kyubi for anything else, said Uchiha interrupted him. You want another hint Naruto-kun? Satsuki then playfully asked with a giggle, though inwardly felt bad for the blonde with not being able to figure it out. But before she realized it, Naruto dived straight at her, being careful not to toss any of the food into the air and held her hand with a desperate look on his face. Yeah, of course I would, Satsuki-chan. So for the love of Kami, please tell me, Dadbao. He soon exclaimed his answer as his face was practically in tears while also being unaware of where he currently was. By this sudden action and the very close contact, however, immediately made Satsuki blush scarlet at what was happening. Oh, well, she tried to respond, but the blood in her face was making it hard for her brain to work any coherent words as she started to look from side to side, anywhere to not look at Naruto's face. See, cute, she unintentionally thought, but that was quickly halted when she realized the situation she was in. Wait, this isn't the time for that. I have to make Naruto-kun find out about Hinata-chan so that they could be together. Not to be lost in his really handsome. She began to state in her mind, only for her eyes to wander back to Naruto's blue eyes and having her mind wander back into them, instantly getting lost in his gaze. He is pretty handsome. She then dumbly admitted in her mind as her blush became pink. Baka Sakura. You wasted your chance on an incredible guy. She then mumbled out, lucky that said guy didn't hear him. Naruto, however, tilted his head as he looked at the female in front of him. Hey Satsuki-chan, are you alright? He asked as he got of the table without letting go of her hand and stood right in front of her. You feel a little warm, Dadbao. He then stated as he placed a hand to her forehead as he looked straight at her eyes. The Kyuubi could only watch at this with a baffled expression. Wow, if it wasn't for the fact that I know that the kid is as dense as a diamond, I would say he's a total lady killer. He merely thought to himself with a sweat drop. And I haven't even done anything to his pheromones. He then added as he was honestly amazed by his container's natural, lady killer, skills. If it wasn't for the fact that the girls had long hair, black instead of white eyes and a much more developed body, one would had mistaken Satsuki for Hinata that was in front of the blonde as her body turned crimson red from embarrassment. Naruto-kun, why you're a bit close. The Uchiha then just barely got out. Not that I mind that it. She then thought, instantly causing her crimson blush to return. This statement made Naruto instantly realize what he was doing. The blonde blushed and released her as if she was on fire. Oh, sorry about that. He got out as he took a step back, just missing the disappointing look on the Uchiha's face when the blonde had released her hand. But I wanted him to keep holding me. Satsuki then whined in her head while giving a cute pout, but that didn't last before her eyes widened as she realized what she just said in her head. Where did that come from? She then thought in a panic at fully realizing her previous thoughts. Oh, it's no problem, Naruto-kun. She declared awkwardly as she still had a flushed face. So about that second hint, well, she's shy. She then stated as she wanted to move on from this subject. Naruto in response gave a deadpan expression at the so-called hint. Okay, I'll need way more than that. I don't even know that many shy girls. The only ones I know are all fangirls. He shouted with pure annoyance as he thought Satsuki was playing with him, though he knew deep down she wouldn't do that to him, so he didn't felt bad. Satsuki and Kyuubi literally then smacked her forehead at the blonde's denseness as their eyes twitched with uncontrollable from annoyance. It's Hinata Hyuga, Naruto-kun, Kit. They both then exclaimed in surprising unison. At that point, Naruto just stood there with a stupefied expression as his brain was slowly processing what he was just told. Then he felt as if a giant weight that read 10,000 tons fell on his head along with another even bigger weight that had the word idiot on it. What? He shouted as he comically pushed off the weights of him. Satsuki then calmed herself down as she nodded. Yeah, while I'm not saying you should just go out with her, I'm just saying that you should at least give her a chance, Naruto-kun. She told him with honesty. I mean, unlike Sakura, who is just obsessed with Sasuke, Hinata-chan's been waiting patiently and without giving up hope that you will someday notice her. She then admitted in a more serious tone. Sorry, Hinata-chan, but he really did need to learn it immediately or you would have to suffer waiting without knowing if he did like you or not. She thought, hoping that the Hyuga would forgive her. Naruto saw still to shock about this that he really didn't know what to think. But upon hearing that Hinata been waiting for him to just notice her while he completely ignored her entire existence made him feel like. Bet you feel like an asshole now, huh kit? Kyubi then remarked, finishing what his container was feeling. Now you shall suffer for your consequences and wake up already. Biwahaha. He then added as an attempt at a joke. Naruto only dropped his head to the demon fox's statement before he suddenly started to think about time he seen Hinata and started blushing, but he then finally recalled that she was probably the only person their age group, before being friends with Satsuki, that actually saw him with kindness instead of the regular hatred or annoyance. Crap, I've been ignoring such a nice girl. He muttered, now feeling depressed and guilty at this revelation as he could had made a friend much sooner if he wasn't so ignorant. Satsuki immediately noticed this as she placed a hand on his shoulder. It's alright Naruto-kun, she reassured as this got the blonde's attention. Maybe you can make it up to her at one point. She suggested as she was soon deep in thought before looking at Naruto, who just nodded as he began to think of ways to make up to the shy girl. Could I ask you something Naruto-kun? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. The Uchiha then asked all of a sudden in a nervous tone. This snapped Naruto's self-induced trance as he paid full attention to Satsuki. Yeah sure, what is it that you want to know Satsuki-chan? He asked as he tilted his head in confusion. Satsuki began blushing when she saw him tilt his head to the side, so cute. No. Pay attention Satsuki, she thought with seriousness. She took a deep breath as she knew this question could be considered very private and even invasive to the blonde's privacy. I wanted to know, when your bloodline activated. How did it just come into existence? She soon asked. The Kyubi remained quiet as this was Naruto's decision. It's your choice kit, hope it's something he'll won't regret later on. He thought to himself. This slightly startled Naruto by the sudden question. Well, it's a bit of a complicated issue and I don't think I am at liberty to tell anyone. But I promise to tell you when the time is right, okay Satsuki-chan. Naruto responded with his own question and request. Satsuki frowned, but she already knew that it really wasn't a thing that someone could just answer. Naruto-kun, I understand, but since we're friends now and I exposed my secret to you, so I just thought that, she started explaining until she started to hear their stomachs growl again, causing the Uchiha to sigh. Alright Naruto-kun, I'll respect your decision and hold you to your promise to tell me later. Now come on, eat up. We'll need our strength for today. She then reminded. Naruto nodded in agreement as he sat back down. Yeah, you're right, let's eat. I'm starving, he responded in excitement. The two then looked at their respective plates of food. Down the hatch, they said in unison as then began their prolonged breakfast. But just as Satsuki took a bite, she realized something after swallowing. She placed a hand on her mouth as she recognized the taste. Oh no, this is, she thought as she looked at Naruto who already took a bite and also already chewed and swallowed. Whoops, she then muttered with a sweat drop. Naruto blinked a few times before his face slowly began to turn completely dark red. Hot 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 HOOOOOOT. He yelled multiple times as he comically started to breath fire from his mouth while he held his burning throat with both hands. Water. He soon exclaimed his request with a scratchy voice. Satsuki quickly got up from her seat as she went to the fridge, rummaging through it. Juice, meats, eggs, aha. She responded as she took out a carton of milk and shook it well to hear its content. Alright, it's not past the expiration date, she said as she handed the milk to Naruto. Here Naruto-kun, drink this. She then ordered. Naruto instantly took the carton and drank the entire thing in quick big gulps, while calming down in the process as well. When he finished and placed the carton down, he started to breath heavily as silly-looking milk mustache was on top of his swollen red lips. Mind explaining? He then asked with difficulty thanks to his swollen lips. Satsuki couldn't help but to giggle at both the milk mustache and the red lips. Sorry about that. You see, the Uchiha have a certain way to prepare themselves for learning fire-style ninjutsu before learning the hand signs. You could say it's a family tradition, so to speak, and you just experienced it. She explained. Naruto stopped panting as he continued. By feeding them extremely spicy food that could permanently burn their tongues. He then asked. Satsuki blushed a little while chuckling with embarrassment. Yeah, ironically it worked as our mouths gets used to intense heat. She soon admitted. A bead of sweat trickled down Naruto's cheek from the heat. Yeah, and I think I already know what happens when it doesn't work. He joked out. Satsuki couldn't help but giggle at the blonde's current state. Here, at least wipe away the milk mustache. She offered in a motherly tone and without thinking as she took her mother's old handkerchief out of her pocket and began wiping Naruto's upper lip, causing the blonde's entire face to turn red from the close contact. Satsuki stood there watching for a moment, seeing this as she wiped Naruto's upper lip, but once she saw his expression, she instantly figured what he was thinking, as it was now her turn to have her face blush bright red. She then quickly shot back and she placed her handkerchief back in her pocket and began flail her arms. Sorry Naruto-kun. I wasn't thinking. She exclaimed, her reasoning as she quickly tried to think of something to say. Here, why don't I make you something a little less spicy? She then panickingly offered to try and get rid of the awkward situation between the two genin. It took Naruto a few moments to recover from this little exchange, but he soon did and blinked a few times. She's pretty adorable when she panics. He thought without really thinking what he was thinking. Not your average Uchiha, that's for sure. Very interesting. Kyubi then admitted. Next thing you'll see is her trying to be flirty and seductive toward you, Kit. He then stated, not really thinking it would happen. Naruto was still in a little baffled that he really didn't pay much attention to the biju. He then soon shook his head, rejecting the offer from the girl. Nah, it's alright Satsuki-chan. He responded before turning back around in his seat. He then grabbed the spoon and took another bite of the special curry, cringing at the delicious, but deadly, flavor. It may be hot as hell, but it's really delicious. He commented with a happy grin and then continued to eat more. Satsuki's eyes went wide again as she watched the blonde eat more of the curry. Why you think it's good? But it could really burn your tongue. She asked, noticeably worried for him, though she couldn't help but blush at him complimenting her cooking. Again, Naruto only shook his head in rejecting the order. No, I really mean it Satsuki-chan, it's really good dadbayo. He replied yet again, then lowered his gaze at the food while having a very sad yet happy look in his eyes. And, this is the first time anyone's made me something to eat besides Ichiraku. I really wanna eat it. Besides you making it for us, it would be rude of me to not be able to finish the food you took time to prepare. He said with a very sincere tone as he then flashed her his famous goofy grin, causing Satsuki's blush to grow darker. Besides, there's no way I'm letting food this good go to waste, even if it is spicy. He declared happily. Damn it, Kit. You're too nice for your own good. Kyubi then remarked while rolling his eyes as he could literally feel the heat that Naruto was feeling that began to sweat from it. Now I gotta heal him from the heat. He added in annoyance as he began to fan himself with his tails. Satsuki couldn't believe it. Not a minute ago, she watched Naruto screaming at the top of his lungs, but now he was scarfing the same food down, all the while refusing to let her throw it away for something else. She could easily tell he still couldn't handle the heat, but he continued eating until his plate was clean. He really eating it, all of it. Even I wasn't able to eat even half of it when my mom first gave it to me. She then got out as she couldn't believe it, the food that she once suffered for days to get used to, the blonde was eating it like natural. Although Satsuki was worried that Naruto may end up having his taste buds messed up by the intensely spicy food, she couldn't help but felt a strange warmth filling it up as she watched Naruto continue eating, and once he was finished she picked up his plate and placed it in the sink. Naruto-kun. You really liked it? She thought unintentionally and she felt pride for the cooking her mother had taught her. You're such a sweet guy. I was such a fool not to realize it. She then praised in her head with honesty. Naruto was still smiling that it made him look a bit creepy. Satsuki-chan. He then got out suddenly. At the sudden mention of her name made Satsuki's heart skip a beat as Naruto turned his head towards her with a plate in her hands, wondering what he could wanted to tell her. Why yes. She soon responded in a stuttering tone. Naruto's smile was turning one that was being forced as sweat began to fall all over his face, as he had to held on the table as he almost fell over as he looked at the female Uchiha. Got any more milk? He then painfully asked as it was clear that his mouth was burning worse than before with it looking like he was about to pass out from overheating. Satsuki blinked for a moment as her brain tried to process the request. When that was done her face turned of pure shock. What? She got out as she quickly ran back to her fridge, rummaging around for something to douse the flames her curry had created. Luckily for Naruto, Satsuki had a single-serve bottle of milk left. Here, take it Naruto-kun, she said as she gave the remaining milk to the blonde. Naruto quickly took it and began to drink it. It didn't completely cool him down but it was good enough that he wouldn't pass out from the intense heat. Thanks Satsuki-chan, huff, huff. He soon started panting. Once Satsuki saw that the blonde's face had more or less returned to normal, she gave a sigh of relief. Why did you eat that? I told you it was too spicy and I meant it. It was my family's curry, the Uchiha's fire-style training curry. She then panicking and worriedly asked. Naruto just looked up at her from his seat, one arm lazily draped over his chair while the other, holding his empty milk container, sat on her table. I just told you, didn't I Satsuki-chan? I really wanted to eat what you made me. He simply explained as one of his true smiles appeared on his face. To that answer, all Satsuki could do was stare at the blonde. Not believing what he had just said, or rather what he had just repeated. It was such a simple and stupid reason to burn his mouth with a clan's special curry, a clan that specializes in fire-style ninjutsu no less. Suddenly Satsuki started giggling, which once again turned into full-on laughter again. Naruto stared at her as she continued laughing, one thought floating through his mind. She looks so carefree when she laughs like this. Her laugh seems so bright and warm. He thought with a smile as he really liked seeing this side of the female Uchiha. As Satsuki calmed down, she looked at Naruto with her own smile on her face. Alright, maybe next time I'll make it mild so you don't almost die from the heat. She then kindly responded. This shocked Naruto at the possibility of getting another home-cooked meal. While he did like the ramen from Ichimaru's, this was the first time to had ever gotten food from a friend, so that's why he had to make sure this was real. There's gonna be a next time. Naruto thought with hope appearing in his heart. Satsuki happily nodded to what she possibly knew what the boy was thinking. Of course, that is if you want to do something like this again. She said with a blush while removing her apron and placing it in the hall closet. Satsuki walked towards her bedroom to get the last of her gear. You'd better hurry up. I doubt you'll have time to get home and to the academy in 10 minutes. She soon reminded as she saw the clock on the living room. Oh also, we better act like asses that hate each other at the academy so we don't draw any unwanted attention to ourselves. She then added, though she disliked the idea of acting like that since they were now friends. Naruto gave a sad smile as he felt the same way as the female Uchiha, but knew it was for the best. Of course Satsuki-chan and I would definitely love to come over again Dadbayo. He said happily to the offer before something clicked in his head, then his face turned to panic. Crap, I really do only have 10 minutes until class. He thought to himself. Satsuki was fine since all she had to do was place her Sasuke's clothing and do a hand sign and she was finished getting ready. That in fact that she only lived 5 minutes away from the academy also helped her, while you have to run back to your crappy apartment, huh? Kyubi stated with a smirk on his face. Naruto wanted to retort but knew he didn't have the time, so he made a run back to his apartment, grab some more ninja tools, and get to the academy before he was late. You're right, Satsuki-chan. I gotta get going, he replied as he quickly stood up and without even thinking he gave the female Uchiha a goodbye hug and left through a window, dashing towards his apartment with no time to waste. On the rooftops, Naruto was running at full speed while jumping on the rooftops so that no one would spot him leaving Satsuki's apartment. You realize you just hugged her, right? Kyubi then remarked with a smirk. Upon hearing this, Naruto stopped mid-step. Unfortunately his was in mid-air too. Ah! He screamed as he came crashing down on a dumpster. Luckily it was empty so he didn't land in the smelly garbage, again. Ow! That fucking hurt. You did that on purpose, didn't you, Dadbayo? He roared in pain. Nope. You did that on your own, kid. So how was the feel of her massive chest? Kyubi stated before asking that question with a smirk. You mean the pain from having crashed down a 2-story building and land on my chest on this trash bin, then? Yes, it fucking hurts. Naruto replied as he completely missed on what the Biju meant as he came down said trash can. The Biju just sighed at the completely oblivious host's dense head. I meant the girl's chest, you idiot. You've already seen it a couple of times now. Kyubi then thought with deadpan face. Bloodline Jujutsu clan girls always seem to get the massive chests or butts for some reason, must be the genes. He added. Seeing that he was far enough from Satsuki's apartment, Naruto then quickly made his way through some busy streets before he felt another one the clones he created hours ago dispel. Wow, my clones really don't know the meaning of holding back. He commented as he held his head, while he felt really dizzy from the rush of knowledge flow in his brain. But nevertheless he continued moving as he couldn't afford to be late. Meanwhile back in the Uchiha's apartment, Satsuki intern stood in the spot she was in, trying to figure out what Naruto had just did before it came to her. He hugged me. She blushed crimson as she rubbed her arms, smiling a bit in a goofy kind of way. He does care for me, she said in realization. Thank you so much. Naruto-kun, maybe. You won't have to be alone anymore, she said as she gave off a very goofy smile and having a small blush as well. She then remembered what Naruto had thought of what had happened between her and Sakura, as her imagination running wild and a thought bubble began to form on top of her head. Satsuki's imagination. Naruto had violently thrown Satsuki onto her bed as she had a slightly frightened face as Naruto held her in place. What are you going to do with me, Naruto-kun? She timidly asked, not even trying to defend herself. Naruto on the other hand smirked as she held on both Satsuki's arms while licking his lips. What do you think, Satsuki-chan? He began to say in a deep low tone that sent shivers down Satsuki's spine. I'll give you what you wish for, he declared as he lowered his head towards her. Satsuki's eyes widened to that as she looked at the male closing in on her. What I wish for? She asked with a trembling tone as fright and excitement filled her soul. This made Naruto smirk again, as he liked seeing the Uchiha tremble. I can tell that you are beginning to like me. No. You want me to take you, don't you, Satsuki-chan? He revealed as he released one of his hands and started cupping her with it, rubbing it ever so gently. Satsuki gasped at the touch, but didn't try to stop it with her free hand as it instead grabbed her bed tightly. But we just met each other, Naruto-kun. She got out in a meek tone. Naruto merely purred to that as his shirt suddenly vanished. Then why is it that you sound like Hinata-chan? He asked as he gave her a squeeze. Satsuki gasped even louder than last time, not realizing that her own clothes suddenly vanished as well. She barely got out. Just end your facade and come after me. It's what you truly desire, to be a true woman. Naruto then said in a tempting tone. Satsuki kept repeating as she then let out a loud shout of ecstasy. Yes, she then suddenly screamed with pleasure. The bubble began to retreat itself inside back of Satsuki's head as she continued to stay stasis as she kept the dazed look on her face. Yeah, that would be nice. She dumbly got out while drool began to fall from her mouth. Me and Naruto-kun. She got out as her eyes became dazed at the thought of such a thing happening. But then another thought came to mind when she remembered something the imaginary Naruto said. Like Hinata, she got out as her bubble came out again. Satsuki's Imagination Part 2. Eep. A meek female voice got out. The single arm pinned down Satsuki soon turned to the source of the sound and gasped at who it was. Hinata-chan. She got out in shock and embarrassment at being seen in such a way. The blushing Hyuga could only watch as her hands were on her cheeks while they were crimson red. "WWW, what are you two doing?" Hinata asked as she couldn't stop watching. Naruto's smirk turned into one of a predator as he let go of Satsuki and stalked at the blushing Hyuga. Once he was right in front of the embarrassed girl, he used his hand raised her chin to look at him. "We were waiting for you, Hinata-chan," he declared in a deeper, even more tempting tone of voice. Me. Hinata struggled to say as her face turned even darker shades of red while not noticing her clothes had vanished as well. Then Naruto picked her up in his arms and went back to the bed as the poor girl was too embarrassed to even do anything. He placed Hinata next to the Uchiha, liking the view of both beautiful girls side by side as he suddenly had a container of whipped cream in his hands. "Now where were we?" he asked the baffled Uchiha as he shook the container. Said Uchiha meanwhile didn't even try to move from the bed as she was too dazed while she was lost in thought that she didn't even realize that she grabbed Hinata's while said girl moaned with ecstasy or the fact that she too was now. When the bubble retracted once more into Satsuki's head, she began to giggle in a very perverted way. Hey. She got out as her drool only increased in volume. Then she finally snapped out of her self-induced trance as she cleaned her drool with her sleeve. "Wait," she then began as her face turned dark shade of red. "What the hell am I even thinking something like that? I've never thought of anything like that before," she exclaimed in a panic, shocked at even those kind of thoughts appeared in her head. "I gotta get ready," she then added as she began to change into her Sasuke disguised. At the academy in one of the classrooms, a shy little girl suddenly sneezed, wondering who was talking about her as she was worried a certain blonde's future. Naruto-kun. She shyly got out while twiddling her fingers in a cute way. As Naruto ran through the busy streets, he could only think of not being late for this day. Now he wouldn't even care about being late, or even going to class for that matter, as mostly because of his bad experiences with bad teachers, with the exception of Iruka. Today however was special for this newly genin. Today was the day of team placement. Finally, Naruto then got out in excitement of what was happening on this day. "I'll finally be an official shinobi," he added. He was right. Today he would be leaving the academy days and begin his shinobi life alongside his new team and meet his Jonin sensei. Today he would finally be a real shinobi. In the seal, the QB merely rolled his eyes to that. "Yeah, that's great and all. But all of that won't happen if you don't make it to your crappy apartment, get ready and then reach the academy before 8 o'clock. He commented with much sarcastic in his tone. This quickly burst the blonde's bubble as panic replaced his excitement. "Damn it, Datbeo. I can't believe this. I can't be late today. But I gotta get my ninja tools and my headband," Naruto exclaimed as he began to run even faster through the streets, while dodging people left and right. But unfortunately, it was already the time when most of the early people would start to begin their business. "Watch it, you punk," a fat man with a bald head yelled in annoyance. "Be more considerate, you little brat," a middle-aged woman yelled as she held onto her niece's hand as he ran. The hatred in their eyes, for once, was directed more at Naruto rather than his tenant. Naruto kept on running without slowing down, all the while not even bothering to either look or reply to their insults. "Pricks," he muttered out, rolling his eyes as he continued to head for his apartment. Back with Satsuki, she had finally put on her transformation as she leapt from roof to roof for the academy. On his way to the academy, Sasuke had taken the blonde's route that he took to get to his apartment and managed to herd some of the crowd muttering among themselves. Just who does that brat think he is? Demon spawn. Murderer. He should have died when he was born. It's his fault that Itachi went rouge. The last female Uchiha kept running, but if it wasn't for the fact that Satsuki was late and that if she could have dropped her facade, she would beat the living hell out of those people for even daring to insult her new friend. But what she really couldn't believe was the attitudes of the civilians towards her new friend while they praised Sasuke like a king, no scratch that, a god for the sole fact that she was the last chance for the Uchihas to return. How dare they? What did Naruto-kun do that was so bad to them? And for that matter, Naruto-kun doesn't even know my brother nor did he knows Naruto-kun. She thought in anger as she passed them and arrived at the academy. Unbeknownst to her, however, a group of Anbu arrived and arrested those citizens, saying something about breaking the third's law where they will have a nice long visit to a certain scarred man and a beautiful purple-haired kunoichi whom they will welcome with nice and warm curtsy. Back with Naruto at his apartment. Said blonde had finally found his headband that he decided to wrap it around his forehead after removing the black headband from his head and decided to return it to his new friend when he got the chance. He then got his steel fishnet shirt hugging his body perfectly showing off his slightly fit muscles that he got after an intense week of training. When he went to get his regular clothing he realized something. Shit. I knew I should have gotten rid of those bugs the other day. They ate most of my clothes. He said as he saw that most of his favorite orange track suits were eaten by cloth-eating bugs. He began to panic when he realized that he had virtually nothing left to wear as those track suits were his single complete outfits he could had afford to buy. Luckily, one had survived the bug attack as he had put it in a box and sealed it with tape to make sure the bugs wouldn't get at it. He looked at the last track suit and began to think. I really like this track suit, after all it has my favorite color. But, he began as he then looked at the outfit Satsuki had let him borrow. Satsuki-chan won't mind if I explain what exactly happened. He finished as he decided that he wore the new outfit that Satsuki let him borrow and then got the rest of his ninja gear. Once Naruto was finally ready with his new outfit, he looked at the small mirror and he grinned at how good he looked. I really should thank Satsuki-chan's outfit that she gave me. He stated as he was really grateful for the girl, as he unintentionally began to think about her. Her cute face, her warm smile, her amazing figure with her large rack, only to then imagine her being uncovered by the small towel. Shit. What the hell am I thinking, Datbeo? He then swore out. Looks like the jutsu has had a bit of an influence on you when it comes to other girls' kit. Kyubi remarked with a smirk as he continued channeling the Satsuki images to his container's head. At that moment, Naruto blushed madly as he violently shook his head and went out the window, heading for the academy. This is gonna be really awkward. He muttered. The Kyubi however began to chuckle at his container's predicament. This is going to be fun. He thought to himself, amused at how things were coming along and how it will play out from now on. In the Hokage's tower, Sarutobi along with the silver-haired, mostly covered face Jonin known as Kakashi Hatake, as they were spying on Naruto in his crystal ball as he was running towards the academy. So, that's him? Kakashi asked with a bored tone and watched lazily with his single visible eye. Sarutobi nodded at his question. Yes, he is one of your 3 new students along with Sasuke Uchiha and Hinata Hyuga. He then stated his new team. Kakashi slightly raised his single eye with slight confusion. I thought Kurenai was getting the Hyuga girl. He said as that was he was told before today. The aged Hokage simply nodded in agreement. It was, but I made the last minute change so that Sakura Haruno is now Kurenai's team since she's more of a genjutsu type. He explained his reasoning. But just remember, regardless of this change don't neglect your other students just cause the civilian council wants you train the last Uchiha. He then reminded with a serious tone. Kakashi sighed as he then bowed to Sarutobi. I understand, I'll equally train them, if they can pass my test that is. He then stated in an indifferent tone. Sarutobi then started to rub his forehead in annoyance. You and your teamwork, he muttered, but he knew that this little aspect was much more than just a requirement for him to accept a team. It was much more deeper than that, and the aged Hokage accepted that all the same, out of respect than anything else. Fine. Just don't traumatize them for life after this. He added in a joking manner, as he knew these three specific genin would be just fine. Understood. Kakashi responded, eye smiling as he turned and started to leave. As he opened the door, he turned his head around. And don't worry, no one will find out about Satsuki under my watch. He added as he was about to leave the Hokage's office. Sarutobi could only chuckle at that. Well, thing is, Naruto-kun already found out her, and it seems like she's may have gained a little crush on him as well. He revealed to the silver-haired Jonin. This stopped the elite Jonin as this intrigued him. Interesting. Do that mean you'll want to talk to the two of them after the team introductions? He then questioned. Sarutobi smirked at the Jonin. I already ordered the Anbu to bring them here after the team placement. Be on time for the team pickups, cause they'll be waiting until you are finished. He ordered. Yeah, I will. Kakashi said as he waved a hand and closed the door behind him. Outside, he took his Ika book and started reading. Better get going. He then casually said he started walking to the academy, taking the long way to get there. The old Hokage could only sigh as he knew the three genin would wait for hours. Inside the academy, at Iruka's classroom, Satsuki in her Sasuke transformation was sitting in his regular sit while staring out the window while waiting for two specific people. The first being their teacher Iruka to get our team selections going, and the other being Naruto, the recent and only friend she had made after last night accident. To think all of that happened last night. She thought as she couldn't help but to blush inwardly at the events, as she had to hide it from the outside so no one would see it. Come on Naruto-kun, get here soon, class will begin any minute. She then thought with anticipation and worry in her tone. Is this seat taken? A familiar female voice asked the last Uchiha. Sasuke turned to see Sakura, in her pink hair glory-cladded in her red dress, going completely head over heels for him. Sasuke grunted as she started to squeal as she sat down. Great. The pink banshee, Satsuki thought in an annoyed tone. He then got a quick glance over to where Hinata was sitting, and the seat next to her was empty. Good. Naruto-kun can sit next to her now so he can get to know her better. He thought with a smirk, causing Sakura to squeal more as she thought he was happy that she sat next to him, which in turn caused him to sigh in annoyance. Please let me not be on the same team as her. Satsuki soon begged. Hey forehead, I'm sitting with Sasuke-kun. Ino then roared as she came over to the area. Sakura merely growled as she looked at the Yamanaka heiress. In your dreams, pig, I'm sitting next to Sasuke-kun. She declared proudly. Satsuki meanwhile only watched as the two girls sent insults to one another while having to fight the urge to slam her head in the desk, repeatedly. Why me? She then whined. Naruto finally made to the academy where he saw Iruka, where the two had a bit of small talk, him talking mostly what he had done over the week, about the jutsus he learned, all the while hiding anything related to Satsuki as the two headed in and arrived at the classroom door. As the two were just a few meters away from the classroom, Iruka could only smile at the way Naruto described his week. Well Naruto, I gotta say that I'm really proud of you. Learning all those jutsu is something to be proud of. He commented as pride was ever present in his voice. Naruto smiled as he scratched the back of his head. Thanks Iruka-sensei. After beating the hell out Mizuki Tem, it was worth it the trouble of learning them. He then stated. Iruka then started to chuckle as he rubbed his nose before he then noticed that they finally reached the classroom. Well, we better get in. He commented. Yup. I got a certain girl to sit next to Dadbao. Naruto said with his usual grin. Iruka merely chuckled to that. Let me guess, Sakura. He then guessed, knowing that Naruto had a crush on her. Naruto shook his negatively in response. Nope. He stated. Iruka at that point gave him a confused and somewhat surprised look before realizing who he was talking about and smiled. So you finally figured it out, huh? He stated more than question. Naruto then became wide-eyed at what he said. You knew. He yelled in disbelief. Iruka at that point sighed as he then rubbed his forehead. Naruto. Everyone knew about it. The Jonin and Anbu of Konoha had a large bet on it. He then advised. Not surprising at all. Kyuubi meanwhile deadpanned within the seal. And it seems that one side's getting a lot of money from it now as a result, damned bastards. He then remarked while grumbling the last part. Naruto then dropped his head in shame while groaning to his tenant's remark. Remind me to hit myself with a large frying pan after this. He commented as he then looked at his former sensei with a serious look. But even with what I did or didn't do, I still have a promise to keep. Truthfully, I really don't know if I have any feeling for her, but I want to get to know her first and then see if we can start something between us. He then explained with complete honesty. Iruka was slightly shocked by this, but he gave a kind and proud smile as he was glad that his favorite student was growing into a mature young man, to at least give the girl that had a huge infatuation borderline in love with him a chance to get to know each other is probably the only thing the shy girl ever wanted. Well, Naruto, you do that, he said with a chuckle as he headed in with Naruto following behind him. The moment he got in, everyone inside went quiet as everyone was surprised for two reasons. The first being that the sight of the blonde whom they thought had failed the test, but now was coming inside of the class along with Iruka, and the other reason was said blonde's complete change in outfit, and although still had his favorite color as its main theme, it still made him look pretty handsome that even some of the Sasuke fangirls couldn't help but blush, while others, more shameful ones, had a little bit of drool coming out of their mouths at the newly masculine look of the blonde, that some were slightly starting to regret not seeing Naruto in this light. Naruto-kun. A very surprised Hinata thought as the sight of his new look, while working extremely hard at not trying faint after she realized that the only one unoccupied seat left was the one next to her. Oh, one seat left, she muttered with a blush on her face as her head was turning into an oven from embarrassment. Sasuke briefly looked at Naruto with the same indifferent expression and gave a scoff and looked away, not before giving a quickly look towards Hinata along with the rest of the class. It looks like he's leaving a new impression on everyone, Satsuki remarked in her head with a squeal, while on the outside Sasuke only smirked underneath his hand that covered his mouth. I really hope he'll keep the new look, he really looks good now, teehee. She then added, soon blushing after realizing what she added. Since when did I start acting like this? She then thought in slight confusion, not exactly disliking that she was. As Naruto was about to head for a certain open seat next to the blushing dark blue-haired girl. Naruto baka, a very annoying voice shouted. Naruto continued to walk in a calm manner as he turned his head and saw that it was indeed who he thought it was. Sakura glared at him with both annoyance and disgust. What the hell are you doing here? This is for the people who graduated, you baka. Don't think a new look will change anyone's opinion of you. She yelled to his face when he got close enough. So get out of here, you devil. She added with much hatred as she could muster. At hearing the beginning part of Sakura's rant, Satsuki and Hinata both glared at her, as many would assume that Naruto should be here, but when they heard the last part, it made both girls' blood to boiled. Hinata did something that would be considered against her kind and shy nature. Her Byakugan activated unconsciously, and even more surprising, she began to send a small amount of killing intent. While Satsuki had to use every ounce of her self-restraint not to send her ninja wire around the pink banshee's neck. That bitch. The both thought in coincidental unison. Hinata began to take a few deep breaths to try to regain her control of her newly found temper as she looked at the pink-haired girl. I know that Sakura-san disliked Naruto-kun thanks to the influence the villagers have, I can understand that. But that is going too far. She thought with complete disapproval. Satsuki, on the other hand, she was incredibly furious at the complete disrespectful and hurtful things the pink banshee told her new friend, and said girl was really lucky that she didn't drop her disguise or she would rip her windpipes. How dare she? Satsuki started to rage in her head. If wasn't in disguise right now, ooh man, that bitch would be in a world of pain right now. She threatened, wishing had access to the Sharingan. 2 minutes. Record time. QB counted out how long it took Sakura to begin to bellow at his host while not even fazed by it as he was used to it and was thankful that he was inside of the seal so that his ears would get damaged from hearing her voice. Once Naruto was virtually next to Sakura, he gave her a blank look and closed his eyes as he once more began to think of all their previous encounters. Each and every one of them were the same. When he had enough recalling, he finally made up his mind. He slowly opened his eyes as he looked straight at the girl's eyes. Okay, first of all, see this. He began as he pointed at his headband. This means I'm a genin you like anyone else in this room. He finished as Sakura and everyone else were shocked, and just now they finally noticed the headband on Naruto's forehead, but what really shocked them was the way Naruto was actually talking back against Sakura's abusive verbal assault. What the hell? What's up with the blonde? Kiba barked loudly as he never would had dreamed that Naruto actually passed the test while Akamaru simply gave a small whine in confusion. Shikamaru, who had his head flat on his desk, his eyebrow twitched at hearing this and merely sighed. Troublesome, he muttered. Shoji merely munched on some more chips as he looked on. Huh, that was different. He simply got out as he kept eating. Many more of the hopeful shinobi to be began muttered in either confusion or denial as they couldn't believe that Naruto, the dead last and worst ninja trainee, was now a full-fledged genin. Naruto was completely unfazed by the comments and muttering around him as he continued to look at the shocked Sakura. And second, you don't have to worry about me bugging you anymore, Sakura. I recently got a large wake-up call and realized that you're not what I always saw you as. I always thought of you as a nice, smart and a sweet girl. Boy, was I wrong in the head. I mean, I must have been a sucker or possibly a masochist for pain if I had let you use me as your personal punching bag. He explained as he walked past the completely baffled and stupefied girl. This had shocked the class even more than before, since they originally knew the class clown had a massive crush on Sakura, and now they were really wondering what happened to him. Did that just happen? A fangirl got out, not believing what she just saw and heard. I think it just did. Another one remarked in a baffled expression. I didn't see that coming. One more of the girls got out as she had a blush on her face as she couldn't stop looking at the blonde's new look and demeanor. But, don't you think Naruto looks kind of, well, you know? He added in a whisper. This made the other fangirls around her to look at the blonde once more, and they also blushed as they knew exactly what the other one meant. Ino, who was still in a state of shock, didn't heard what the fangirls were whispering about, as she continued looking at the scene in front of her. Naruto, the Naruto that was dead on getting a date with her for so long, actually rejected forehead. She stated with a baffled tone in her voice, then noticed where said blonde's destination. No way. She then got out as a sudden realization came to her. Did he finally realize it? She then thought with yet more shock than before. After all, it was one thing to rejected Sakura, but it was another thing entirely for the denser than stone Naruto to finally realize the only person who had a huge on him. Sasuke meanwhile raised an eyebrow as he heard what Naruto just said, as he gave the expression of being genuinely curious. For Satsuki, however, she was laughing up a storm inside of her mind, as it instantly losing all the rage she had previously gained from Sakura's earlier remarks. Nice Naruto-kun. Way to stick it to her. And sounded so cool while doing it too. She thought, praising her new friend for standing up to his ex-crush. Sasuke then sniffed the air, recognizing a familiar scent. Raspberries. He muttered as he eyed the blonde. He must have used my shampoo while he was showering. Satsuki then deducted as she noticed the appearance of his hair. It looks silky smooth now. And it also smells good. Too bad he didn't use the body lotion. She then dumbly admitted as her mind began to wonder at the thought while licking her lips. Sweet and tasty raspberries. Licky licky tasty Naruto-kun. She then thought before struggling to hide the blush on her face, as she was really thankful that she was covering her face with her hand, or everyone would have seen said blush on her face. While Naruto continued to walk, he didn't notice that everyone, Mostly the girls were looking at him like a piece of meat as he finally reached the seat next to the dark blue-haired Hyuga. Hey, mind if I sit here, Hinata-chan? He then asked with a kind smile. Said girl let out a small eep at his question as her face was turning dark red. She honestly couldn't believe this was happening to her. Her crush was actually asking if he could sit next to her. She could feel her heart racing at lightning speeds. Hinata got out as she tried desperately not to faint, while she tapped both of her index fingers together in a shy manner. Sure, you can sit here. Naruto-kun. She then meekly responded with a nod as she mustered up all the courage she could with a small happy smile and small blush adorning her cheeks. Naruto couldn't help but blushed lightly. Normally he would find this actions weird, but after learning that Hinata liked him made the blonde look at her with more focus. Damn, she's so cute. Naruto thought as he sat next to her. She may be cute now, just wait when she grows up. Kyubi said with a perverted chuckle. It's always the shy ones that become big busted in the end, save for the Uchiha if you consider her actually shy. He remarked. Naruto inwardly groaned to those remarks as he then smiled at the Hyuga heiress. Thanks Hinata-chan. He responded as he sat down. This made Hinata's face to turn even darker shades of red when she heard Naruto add Chan to her name. Naruto-kun called me Hinata-chan. Does that mean he thinkings of me as a friend? She thought to herself as she continued tapping her fingers together. Once Naruto had sat down, he caught the sense of something, then started to sniff the air. You smell raspberries? He asked her. This caught Hinata's attention as she began to sniffing the air herself a little. Once she finally caught the scent, she gave a small nod of agreement as she shyly looked at the blonde. Why yes. I think it's coming from your hair. She replied with a whisper, but it was enough for Naruto to heard. As Naruto gave a few more whiff, he finally realized that he and Hinata must have had smelled Satsuki's shampoo. As he touched his hair, it didn't feel entirely spiky but instead it felt a bit smooth and wavy. I guess I was so relaxed that I didn't notice. He thought as he then shrugged his shoulder. Besides Hinata and not including Sakura, the other girls started to sniff the air, smelling raspberries as well while turning their heads toward Naruto with his new appearance, that they began to give him looks of lust and something more. Having enough of all the racket, Iruka gained a tick mark on his forehead. Alright everyone, quiet down, he soon yelled out, using his infamous big head jutsu. This got what the brown-haired teacher wanted as everyone looked forward and all eyes were on him, but they all wondered just how he does that. His head returned to normal as he gave a nod of approval. As you all know, from today on, you're all shinobis of Konoha. He began and everyone gained an excited face at this statement. For now you're genin, lowest ranking ninjas. But as long as you gain experience, you'll soon rise through the rankings in no time. First we'll divide you into 3-man teams and then you'll meet your Jonin sensei. He explained as he then started to hear muttering from everyone. He could heard things like hoping to be with a friend or be with the one they like, he could only sigh at that. Iruki could shock his head to this. They should be more worried of surviving than worrying about something as trivial as that. He thought with disappointment as he pulled out the list that was recently given to him by the Hokage. I am going to call out your teams and I would like you to sit according to them after I am finished. Also this team was made and created by the Hokage himself, so you have no say in the manner to these team placements. He told the students turned genin as they all became silenced to hear the team pairings. When he saw everyone being completely quiet he began. Team 1. He began as the first through the 6 were only made of civilian heritage. He knew they would most likely wouldn't pass the true test, but he knew that was the rite of passage so to speak. Next one is Team 7. They will consist of Naruto Uzumaki. He began, instantly gaining said blonde's attention alongside some the blue and black-haired girls and the girls that looked at him with anticipation. Naruto couldn't help but grin at the mention of his name. Finally I'm up, he thought with uncontrollable excitement, though deep down he really wished that he could had partner up with either Satsuki or Hinata, but he knew the chances of that was slim to none. Uruka secretly gave a brief look at his favorite blonde with his eyes and then continued. Sasuke Uchiha, he continued. This got more than one set of eyes to widen in surprise, then many began to whisper at his revelation. Both Naruto and Satsuki were also very surprised as it shone in their shocked expressions, but once the surprise had passed, it took every single ounce of both preteens' self-control to not start to scream in excitement at the thought of them being together with their first and probably only true friend's side, but they knew that they had to remain in their normal character, so they settled with a small tug of their lips. Sasuke looked at Naruto, as so did the blonde, and as if they both had shared their happiness as they gave each other very subtle nod and then both scoffed to remain in character. Then Satsuki turned to look at the window to hide the ecstatic look in her eyes. I can't believe it. I'm on the same team as Naruto-kun. She squealed internally with uncontrollable happiness. First I made a friend that will help me hide my secret. Then I had a home warm meal with my first friend, and now I'm with my first friend's team for a long time. This is the best week of my life. She added as she really wanted to cry out of happiness, but she knew that could wait for later. Right now, as much as she hated it, she had to remain in character. Most of the class, specifically the guys, didn't really care about this team, as most were either glad or happy not being on Naruto's team, while some of the Sasuke fangirls and some of the ones that started to look at Naruto in a new light, began to drool and were now begging every single kami or deity in existence for the chance to be on the same team of the two hot young preteens. Ino meanwhile looked at their sensei with narrow eyes. Okay, two guys now have been chosen, which means that the last member must be a girl or someone with high marks like Dad told me. She deducted as she looked at the pink-haired girl and paled. Oh no. She then panicked in her head in realization. Sakura meanwhile also figured out how the teamings were going to go as she became giddy in her seat. Yes. I'm gonna be with Sasuke-kun. Cha. Inner Sakura exclaimed in her head as she was too much in her delusion of being on the same team with Sasuke that she forgot all about Naruto being on the same team as well. Uruka groaned at what the other girls were doing as he then looked back at the name of the last member of Team 7. And finally the last member. Hinata Hyuga. He then revealed. No sooner the teacher said this, many of the girls around them began to wail in sadness for not being able to be in Sasuke's and Naruto's team now, as they were slightly regretting now ignoring said blonde in the past and missing the chance on getting a chance on this new Naruto. Meanwhile the newly formed Team 7 had a stupefied looks in their face as it then was replaced with a happy one. Yes. Naruto and Hinata whispered to themselves as this surprising yet happy news, while Sasuke grunted as he crossed his hands to cover his mouth, but only to hide a smirk under them. However, in Satsuki's head, she became even more ecstatic to this development. Hinata-chan too. Awesome. Either Kami must loves me or I finally had Lady Luck's good side on my side now. She exclaimed in more excitement. Uruka was about to announce the next team when. What? Sakura exclaimed in shock as a mental glass in her mind was beginning to crack and a deep hatred was beginning to form within her. Uruka-sensei, that's not possible. The best student is always pair off with the one with the highest marks. It should be me on Sasuke-kun's team. She demanded with much anger in her tone as she then remembered the other things she forgot. She turned to Naruto and looked at him with disgust and hatred. And why is Naruto Baka even here? He failed the graduation exam, so why is he here in the first place? She asked, loathing that Naruto was on the same team as her beloved Sasuke-kun and she wasn't. Yeah, why is that Dobi even here? One former student asked, as he didn't believe that Naruto could had passed the exam. Also I noticed that Mizuki-sensei isn't here. Where is he? Another former student asked, starting to question where their other sensei was. Sasuke looked at Naruto as he glared at Sakura. Though I really hate those that really belittle Naruto-kun and would like to beat the crap out, they're right. How did Naruto-kun graduate? Satsuki wondered as she also knew that clone jutsu was the blonde's worst jutsu. Then she remembered the fight they had last night. I know that he can do shadow clones, but when and where did he get that jutsu? That's an B or A rank for sure. She deducted. Not that she wasn't mad or anything, she was really happy that Naruto got something to pass, it was that she was really curious how he got it. Iruka sighed with annoyance as he knew this was going to happen, then when he was about to explain, but Naruto beat him to it as he gathered some chakra to his legs and made a very impressive jump to where Iruka was from his seat, this startling everyone while some girls were very impressed by this display. You really want to know? Naruto asked as he saw the stupefied ex-classmates nodding dumbly. Naruto turned towards Iruka as he made a silent, "Can I?" Who could only sigh nodded his head, he knew that sooner or later the news of Mizuki's turning traitor would be revealed. Just don't say anything too revealing. He answered. Naruto knew exactly what his ex-sensei meant by, too revealing. No saying anything about the forbidden scroll got it. He thought to himself as he turned back to the rest his ex-classmates. Well, I doubt that they would believe that you managed to get the most important scroll in the entire village, who is under the ever-watchful eyes of you so-called leader using that perverted jutsu of yours. The QB commented with a chuckle. For the first time, Naruto didn't have any retorts. No comment was all he had to say to him as he too felt the same way as the Biju, which only made said Biju to chuckle even more. Naruto took a deep breath and looked at the waiting ex-classmates. Let me think. It all started when Mizuki Tem, he started. That's Sensei Yubaka. Sakura rudely interrupted, annoyed that the blonde was being disrespectful to a teacher. Naruto rolled his eyes as he really didn't care what she said and simply decided to continue. After the graduation exam last week, on my way home, Mizuki Tem approached me telling me about a makeup test to take. He explained as this got some mutters from the class as they never heard of a makeup test to become a genin, while Sakura growled with much anger at the direct way Naruto emphasized on the fact that he completely ignored her. And as you most likely figure it out, it turns out it was a complete lie when he told me that I had to steal a certain object from the Hokage if I had any chance of passing the exam. He then revealed as he hid the fact that the object that he stole was the Forbidden Scroll. Most of the students gasped at this. He told you to steal something from the Hokage. How the hell did you get past him? Kiba asked in shock as Akamaru barked on his head. Shikamaru may had looked completely uninterested, but in fact he found it very suspicious when Naruto didn't say what was the object he was told to steal. He's either hiding what it is or he was told not to. He deduced as he remembered the way that Naruto looked at Iruka before he began. And by that little exchange, it must be the latter. He concluded as he figured out some of the details. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckled a little. Well, let's just say that Iruka-sensei isn't the only one who fell for my instant kill jutsu as shown him before. He then revealed as he rubbed the back of his head while the QB inside of the seal was laughing his off. At that point, most of the guys laughed while girls' jaws dropped at the thought of the Hokage getting a nosebleed from seeing a girl with Sasuke had to hold in a laughter or risk joining the Biju in a roaring laughter as well, while Kiba and Choji on the other hand laughed loudly, Shikamaru snickering a little and Shino only raised an eyebrow to this. No way. Hokage-sama is a pervert. Ino got out in disbelief with both a disappointed and disgusted tone in her voice. At the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi sneezed. Someone must be talking about me. And knowing my luck Naruto-kun must had done or said something to complete destroyed my image. He muttered as he palmed his face as he knew Naruto was the source of whatever just happened. Iruka palmed his face as he looked at the blonde genin. I don't know whether to be happy that he didn't mention the scroll or mad that he just made our leader into a pervert. Thought the very annoyed teacher. Sasuke simple acted as he really didn't care less while on the inside Satsuki was starting to put the pieces that she had learned since hers and Naruto's match in her head. I see, so Naruto-kun must have been rewarded for taking out Mizuki. But now I wonder what exactly Mizuki wanted Naruto-kun to take. She pondered. So the Dobi ended up learn a higher ranked jutsu to make up for the clone jutsu. Impressive. Sasuke muttered. Hearing the Rookie of the Year's deduction made many wondered how strong was now Naruto. Lucky, Kiba said as he looked at Naruto. Hate to say it, but that's pretty awesome, he then admitted with much jealousy in his tone. Sakura scoffed as she looked away, crossing her arm and pouted. Who cares whatever that demon got? If anything, it should had been Sasuke-kun to be the one with that kind of privilege. She then stated, so you think Sasuke-san should have the privilege of learning whatever Naruto had learned to P. The Genin exam, Haruno-san? Shino asked impassively as he never was one to like to hear the completely illogical rants of the pink-hair preteen. Of course, Sasuke-kun's destined for greatness as a shinobi. He rightfully deserves it. Way better than that demon should ever had. Sakura stated stupidly and loudly, causing Kiba to cover his ears and for Akamaru to whine. You really are foolish, Sakura. Not even Sasuke-tem is entitled to learn what I had, especially if it can killed him if he even tried it. Naruto said as he shook his head in annoyance as he remembered that the shadow clone would kill even seasoned chunins if they didn't had enough chakra. Yup. Satsuki-chan was definitely right about her. He thought with much disappointment. What was your first clue, dumbass? The QB retorted. Ah, shut foxface. Naruto muttered back as he really didn't want to hear anything from the Biju right now. What do you know, Naruto baka? You only got lucky with whatever those jutsu you learned were. You're nothing but a clanless orphaned loser whose parents probably killed themselves when they had you. Sasuke-kun is an Uchiha, which automatically means that he is your better. Sakura screamed, causing a few of the windows in the CL to crack at the sheer volume of her voice and others to cover their ears. Those who are pretty much okay with Naruto, such as Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Shino, and surprisingly even Ino, gasped at Sakura and her despicable attitude, wondering what made her say those things in front of not only her classmates, but the instructor. They each glanced at Naruto and saw him with his head down and hair covering his eyes, stopping them from seeing what the blonde was feeling. At the moment, both Hinata and Sasuke both managed to unlock their killing intent as they really wanted to hurt the disrespecting Banshee, as their newly discovered ki kept increasing, which caused Sakura to pale and almost pee out from the sheer force of ki that was being directed at her. Sasuke glared heavily at Sakura while in his mind, Satsuki smirked as she thought of something good. Yeah, that'll work, she thought. Sasuke, who was still glaring at Sakura, then took a deep, calming breath. You know, Haruno, regardless of who my family is, I'm also an orphan as well, or did you forget that I lost my entire family in one night cause of the Uchiha massacre? He then remained with a sub-zero tone that caused everyone around them to gasp as they now remembered that fact. This also made the pink-haired girl paled as she looked at the Uchiha. But Sasuke-kun, Sakura cried out with anguish, realizing her stupidity. But before Sasuke could respond, Haruno-san, a sudden voice interrupted Sakura. I have for so long tolerated your loud voice and disrespecting attitude towards those you think are lower than you, but you made the last mistake of opening that big fat mouth of yours and hurt someone who has never done anything wrong to you other than talk to you. If you don't learn how to keep quiet when you are supposed to, I will give you an overpowered juken shot to the throat and end your ability to use that horrible voice of yours. One of the most unexpecting person threatened, shocking everyone who knew it. In the seal, QB blinked a couple of times as he looked at who said it. Wait, what? Did who I think it was the one who said that bad threat? He got out in slight confusion and shock. Naruto and Satsuki meanwhile were also completely shocked by the normally shy girl actually threatening someone, let alone Sakura. Wow, Hinata-chan was so badass. They both thought in unison. Said pink-haired girl on the other hand was in the least bit intimidated as she believed herself to be better than Hinata. Oh, shut up. You're too weak and frail to even challenge someone of my standards, you little. Sakura was quickly interrupted by surprisingly, Hinata of all people, as she grabbed Sakura by her shirt and slammed her back against the wall with a hand cocked back ready to strike her throat, showing she was serious. Try me, Sakura-san, Hinata threateningly said while small amount of chakra began to glow on her fingertips, further surprising everyone. Naruto looked at her in disbelief, a blush creeping onto his face. Wow. Just. Wow. He got out. Inside of the seal, the Biju whistled at the display of the so-called weak girl. Okay. This shy little bunny is actually a fierce lioness in disguise. You really hit the jackpot on this one kit. Kyubi commented as Naruto was still stupefied, which caused him to only chuckle in reply. Sasuke looked on as well, as he looked slightly interested, but also making sure he didn't look interested because of the fangirls. Satsuki, however, was also really shocked at the display. Hinata, that was awesome. Man, I'm glad to be on the same team as you, she said, a blush instantly adorning her face. While the rest of the CL was still in major shock of the Hyuga's threat before the teacher looked on. Hinata-san, please put her down, it's not right threatening a fellow classmate. Iruka advised, trying to bring Hinata back down to earth before she did something she might regret. Let me down, Sakura yelled out as she felt the grip on her neck loosen a bit. After Hinata fully heard both of their voices, she managed to get most of her judgment back and knew that her ex-sensei was right, so reluctantly released Sakura and headed back to her sit, not once looking back at her. Yeah, that's what I thought, you white-eyed freak. She insulted with a malicious tone in her voice. That was the last bit of patience their ex-sensei could handle. Enough. Sakura, you are way out of line with these comments of yours. Iruka yelled out, already reaching past his boiling point with Sakura. But Iruka-sensei, the civilians are always going on saying that Naruto Baka is a dem, Sakura started but was soon cut off by Iruka slamming his hand on the desk, creating a few cracks in the wood. Silence. Iruka yelled out with true anger in his voice. Upon hearing such a tone shocked the rest of the class, as they had never heard the kind yet easily annoyed sensei to show such an emotion, especially towards a former student. If you don't shape up that attitude of yours, not only will I reverse my decision of making you a ninja, but I will go to the Hokage and personally request him to make you a civilian permanently. He then declared in a threatening tone, making it very clear to all that he was serious, causing said girl to growl in anger. But she knew that if Iruka went to the Hokage with this complaint, this threat will happen, as she knew that the Hokage had a soft spot for Naruto, so with much anger she simply sat down and decided not to say anything more. After Iruka had seen Sakura had sat down and halted any further interruptions, he took a deep breath to finally calm down and continued from where he was on the explanation before his student's outburst. The point is, in the end, Mizuki's plan backfired when Naruto realized his intentions and stopped him from what he was possibly planning. Iruka explained as some of the students began to mutter as it was hard pill to swallow that the dead last known as Naruto could actually accomplishing such a thing, while the girls kept looking at him with a blush on their faces. That and I so enjoyed beating the living shit out of the Tem. Naruto thought with a shit-eating smirk at the memory when he sent his army of clones to beat him to an inch of his life. Seeing that his ex-students would get distracted yet again, Iruka decided to continue. Anyways, moving on with the teams. He began as he took out the team placements list again. Team 8 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno and Shino Aburame. He read, and no soon he said that, Kiba and Sakura slammed their heads on the table. Damn it. Kiba muffled out with his face still on the table. How can this be? I was supposed to be with Sasuke-kun. Sakura roared inside her mind as her nails could draw blood from the fury she was feeling. It's that demon's fault this happened. I just know it. Cha. Inner Sakura cursed with hatred as the regular Sakura agreed completely. Completely unaware of Sakura's double inner conflict, Iruka continued. Team 9 is still the same as they are still activity, and finally the last team is Team 10 is consist of Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Choji Akamichi. He concluded the team placements. Ino's face instantly paled when she heard who her new teammates were. No, not Food Boy and the Lazy Bum. Why? She then complained in her head as she also slammed her hands in her head and desperately trying to stop herself from screaming it out. After all, she really didn't want to make Iruka mad like Sakura did. While the rest of Team 8 didn't really mind or care about the team placements. These are all the teams. I'll be right back with your designated Jonin sensei, who will be here soon to pick each of their teams the moment I get back. Uruka informed the class and they all started to talk among themselves as he began to leave the class, but just when he was about to open the door he turned and gave his former students a proud smile. I have one last thing I would like to say to all of you. He began and gained the attention of everyone. I am so proud of all of you for making this far and that I know you all have bright futures ahead of you. Uruka proudly said as he then frowned as he reached a certain pink-haired genin. Except a few exceptions. He muttered that part while glancing at Sakura. And I wish you all luck with your lives as shinobi of Konoha, serve your village and be proud of being shinobis. He then opened the door and exited through it. At that moment, multiple females besides a still depressed and angry Sakura and Ino went over to Naruto. Naruto blinked a couple of times to the girls coming towards him as he realized what was about to happen. Ah crap, this isn't gonna end well. He thought with a pale face. Kyuubi meanwhile was laughing up a storm within the seal. The troubles of showing off the way you did and showing your maturity. He advised. So Naruto. One of the girls then suddenly started. Yeah, Naruto replied, confused and nervous at the looks the oncoming females were giving him as he gave a few glances of Satsuki, who said girl still had the same act of Sasuke but he could feel the anger radiating off her. Damn it. The fox just had to be right. He thought while said fox only chuckled as he heard his thoughts. What made you decide to change your look? Another girl asked in a seductive tone and gave Naruto the best look a girl of 12 could make. Before Naruto could even think of a reply, he was soon getting bombarded with even more questions and compliments from the girls all around him. Sasuke's eye twitched at the hypocrisy of his fangirls. Those hypocrites. They would hound me just because I'm an Uchiha. But now that Naruto-kun is finally wearing nice clothes that made his good looks shine, they are now after him now. She thought with female fury. Kiba and Shino reluctantly sat next to Sakura to have a discussion with her new teammate interrupt the conversation that they tried to make. Don't talk to me, she simply said as she made it very clear that she didn't want to even talk to them. This made Kiba growl in annoyance and Shino said nothing and they both decided to just wait for their new sensei to come. Sasuke then stood up and went over to Hinata. An Uchiha and a Hyuga. This is an interesting setup, even if we are with the Dobi. He remarked with slight amusement. While on the inside, Satsuki was ecstatic at this result. Now I can help Hinata-chan get closer to Naruto-kun and vice versa. Sweet. She thought in excitement over this development. Hinata meanwhile had recovered from the momentary fury as she was now giving a weak glare at the girls around Naruto, but when she heard Sasuke, she gave out a surprised yelp and turned towards him. Hi, Sasuke-san, she timidly replied as her sight returned back towards her favorite blonde. Do you think he'll be alright? She then asked, already going back to her normal, shy self as she clearly showed her worry for their blonde teammate. Sasuke shrugged his shoulder. Dobi will be fine. Better than me getting hounded by my former fangirls, except Sakura and Ino. He explained his piece with complete indifference, but on the inside. So cute. Satsuki meanwhile squealed at how adorable Hinata was acting, all the while fighting the urge to hug the girl to death and instantly wanting to be friends with her. One of the girls began to smell Naruto's scent as gave a lust-filled expression. Your hair smells really good, Naruto-kun, she said as they all began to approach him even more, wanting to smell him. Naruto was really starting to panic at the looks of the girls were giving him. What the heck is wrong with them? He panicked inside of his mind. Is this what Satsuki-chan goes through as Sasuke? He added. The Biju was holding back a roaring laughter when he heard Naruto ask that. You kid have now discovered the horror of what is known far and wide. The horror known as fangirls. He declared with seriousness. He then began to laughing his off. Stop laughing and help me, Dadbeo. Naruto roared back in a panic, to which was only replied with even more laughter. Unfortunately, the Biju only continued to laugh at his host misery. Your problem, the Kyuubi replied. This made Naruto to panic even more as one of the girls began to get a bit too close for his comfort. Want to get some ramen with me after introductions? Another seductively purred out. This instantly made all the girls to begin to glare daggers at each other. He's mine. They then tried to grab onto Naruto as if he was an item. Oh shit. Naruto yelled as he got out of their grips as he jumped with a chakra-enhanced jump and used a kunai to held himself onto the ceiling, right above Hinata. Then all of a sudden, Naruto felt a wave of knowledge onto his brain. Just a few moments ago, the remaining clones that were still practicing their jutsus were glaring at each other. Why, you asked? Well, we'll totally finish training before you, Dadbao. The lead Air Bullet faction clone declared in a confident manner. Yeah, the rest of his faction yelled in agreement. Like hell, we'll be the one to do it. The lead Shadow Clone faction restored. Hell yeah, his faction yelled. No, we will. The Beast Wave Palm faction leader roared. Yeah, his factions roared. Not if we finished it first. The Dirt Cover lead of the Mud Wall faction said with complete confidence. That's right, his faction declared. Then I guess. The lead Air Bullet leader began. There's only one way. The lead Shadow Clone leader followed up. To decide, the lead Beast Wave Palm faction leader stated. Who will win? The Mud Wall faction leader continued. A competition. They all then roared in unison as they then went at one another with the pride of their jutsus they were assigned to practice. For our pride of our jutsus. They all added in a fierce roar. This massive, yet very stupid competition only lasted a few minutes as they were already wasted too much chakra from their earlier training and then they all burst in smoke when they reached their limit. Back with our favorite blonde. The memories of the very stupid competition alongside their previous training knowledge came rushing in this head. Shit, I'm going to murder those idiots. He thought as his already dizzy mind could process. They're all you idiot. The demon fox then reminded with a witty smirk. Naruto groaned as his brain finally reached its limit and he let go of the kunai that held him onto the roof. Shit, he cried out as he fell down, right above Hinata. Look out, he warned. Instantly hearing the warning, the Hyuga looked upwards. That was all Hinata was able to get out before the two crashed. There was a grave-like silence that you could hear a pin if you had dropped it, but the sound of all the students' jaws dropping would do just fine. Oh, my, Kami. Satsuki thought while Sasuke looked on with a raised eyebrow. The guys were shocked at the scene while the fangirls had their hearts shattered at the sight. No, they all yelled in horror. Naruto groaned in pain, more so from his throbbing headache than anything else. What happened? And why do I smell lavender? He thought to himself. Then he heard a muffled eep. This instantly made his eyes widen as he looked down. What he saw was that he was on top of an atomic red Hinata and that he was holding her hands on their wrists holding her at bay. And to top it all out their lips were connected to each other. When Naruto finally processed it he opened his mouth while still kissing and this made their tongue touch each other. This of course made the already red Hinata gain an undiscovered shade of red to cover her entire body while Naruto also joining in this blushing competition. Sasuke meanwhile looked on, resisting a blush of his own as he saw the two separate. Lucky, Hinata-chan got his first kiss. Satsuki thought while pouting in her mind before her eyes widened in realization. Again, she panicked. Naruto finally got over his initial shock as he felt back his tongue from Hinata's as he got off the blushing girl. Sorry Hinata-chan. Naruto muttered as he got off her as he held out his hand to help her up. Oh crap, I kissed Hinata-chan. He thought in a panic. The QB meanwhile whistled at the whole exchange. Score 1 for the kit. He then remarked in satisfaction. Shut it fuzzbutt. Naruto retorted to his tenant as his face was still blushing while trying desperately to not think of either the kiss or the tongue action. It's alright Naruto-kun. Hinata muttered out in a dazed tone as her brain was still not able to process what had just happened or she would had already fainted or more likely gain a roaring nosebleed from the spit exchange she did with her crush. She stood up with Naruto's help and faced the rest of the class that was silently staring at the two. Curry, she muttered, still in a daze while she licking her lips and secretly liking the kiss, unaware of what she was saying. Had she been aware she would had already fainted. Hinata-chan. Naruto exclaimed in confusion as he was able to hear what she muttered. Holy crap. Kiba got out, still putting together what had just happened in his head. Once he finally processed it, he had to hold back his jealousy. Why does the Dobi get the ladies? Was all he could think of. Shino only looked on with his normal calm self, but he did raise a single eyebrow at what had just happened. Shikamaru opened one of his eyes slightly as he saw everything. Troublesome, was all he could comment as he then closed it. Choji had stopped eating and had a shocked but confused expression. Once that passed, he continued eating. They kissed. Ino barely said as she and the other girls looked on at the sight. Ino then looked at Hinata and said that she was licking her lips in what appeared to be a seductive manner. She then exclaimed in her head. The fangirls meanwhile began to wail at the sight while crying tears of jealousy. Back with Naruto and Hinata, there was awkwardly quiet for a moment between the two, when Naruto was about to ask if she was okay. Naruto baka, what the hell are you doing to Hinata, you pervert? I should pound you into dust for that. Sakura yelled out as she tried to punch him into the ground. This instantly made Naruto to regain his focus as he grabbed her fist. This made Sakura look at him with shock as she had believed she would had hit him like always. Then Naruto glared at her. It was as obvious to all that was an accident, but regardless of that, I had already apologized to her for what happened. He began to explain in a serious manner, but when he saw Sakura glared and was about to shout at him again, he slightly pushed her back to stop her, but still not letting her go. Oh boy, Satsuki thought as Sasuke watched the display, not knowing where this was leading. You know something, I had always tried to stay calm whenever you open your mouth, but seriously, shut the hell up already. I'm pretty damn sure that every one of the other hidden villages and the dead could hear you. Now don't go and meddle on other people's affairs, as I really don't know why you should come and try to win. This is obviously a Team 7 matter. He told the pink-haired genin as he then threw her fist away and walked off. The pink-haired banshee rubbed her sore hand, then was about to yell at the blonde, but when she saw the Naruto turn his head, she received a very intense stare from him and she felt danger, so with anger and fear she began to walk back to her desk as she continued glaring at him. Naruto then just turned back again and continued to walk. I'm going to the bathroom, he said as he reached the door. Once he got out, he slammed it behind him. Everyone else soon looked on with baffled expression while the fangirls had hearts in their eyes. At the Hokage office, Sarutobi looked on in his crystal ball and saw Naruto outburst at Sakura as well as his accidental kiss with Hinata, and then he saw the way the many girls looking at Naruto. He could only sigh at that. Minato, your son is going to get a harem at this rate, he muttered as he continued to watch. Back to inside the class. Sasuke sighed as he then looked at the class. Guess I have to go check on the Dobi, since my other so-called teammate is today's, he stated as he left the room. The rest of the class could only watch the Rookie of the Year also leave the class while said teammate was still in a daze and could only think of a certain blonde's lips. While Sasuke was heading to the bathroom with his normal indifferent expression, but on the inside Satsuki was furious over what had happened. That Kami damned pink-haired bitch. How dare she say those things to Naruto-kun like that? She roared while trying desperately not to show it on the outside. I hope that I'll never see her again, she then added. Soon, Sasuke finally arrived at the bathroom. He entered it while wondering if Naruto was alright. Satsuki didn't mind going into the boys' bathroom since she disguised herself as a boy for most of her time at the academy, that she was already used to entering the male bathroom. When he entered, he saw Naruto washing his faces. Dobi, he said. This made Naruto to turn towards his new teammate and gave a sad smile as he was happy to see his new friend, even if she was in her disguise. Hey Tem, Naruto replied. He knew that he couldn't risk saying anything that could endanger Satsuki's secret, as he then took a paper towels to clean the water. After a moment, he sighed. Geez, I can't believe I let Sakura get to me like that. He muttered. Satsuki also knew what Naruto was doing, so she played along as well. Just forget it. She's not worth feeling guilty over. Sasuke replied with annoyance in his tone. Naruto merely sighed again to that. I mean, after all the times she beat me up and the abuse from the village, how could I not snap? He stated with much strained anger in his tone. Abuse? Sasuke asked. This being the first hearing about this. What do you mean by abuse? He asked with narrow eyes. Shit. Naruto thought in realization of the slip of his tongue. Look, I'll tell you one of these days, just not now, alright? He then thought he had already requested it back at Satsuki's home, he still had to say it again. Satsuki was mad that his new friend requested the same thing again, but she had to play along. I'll take your word for it. Sasuke headed out of the bathroom, then he took a deep breath. Better get back. I saw some Jonin coming in after I left the classroom. He then stated. Naruto nodded as he and Sasuke headed out back to the classroom, not before getting one last punch at the wall, leaving a large dent at the restroom wall. Anger management at its best. He with a grin as he then ran past Sasuke and back towards the classroom. While Satsuki looked at the blonde entering the classroom, she couldn't help but frown in her mind. What did you go through in your life, Naruto-kun? She depressingly thought. Sasuke soon re-entered to see an open spot next to blushing Hinata and with Naruto on the other side of her. This made Satsuki giggle internally as she couldn't help but find that reaction adorable. Sasuke then went to the open seat and sat down. No sooner Sasuke did so, the door opened and they all saw a group of Jonin along with Iruka. These are your sensei. They are all Jonin rank shinobi that will be training each of the teams that were selected. He informed the new genin. First some regular looking Jonin came and picked up their students, then came the Jonin that looked different from the others. First was a woman with red eyes and a unique outfit. The woman briefly looked at the young shinobis as her eyes fell to a certain blushing Hyuga. Hinata. She mumbled out with sadness as memories of this morning began to fill her mind. Flashback no jutsu. Just a few hours before the team meeting. Both Kakashi and Kurenai were called by the Hokage as they waited patiently for what it was that their leader wished to talk to them. Kakashi, Kurenai, there is something about the team placement I wish to discuss with you. Although I had already discussed this with Kakashi, I now will tell you about my decision. He stated to the newest female Jonin. This made Kurenai be slightly startled. What is this about Hokage-sama? She asked. While Kakashi didn't say a word as he knew what this was about. The aged Hokage closed his eyes as he began to think of how he should start this. I have decided to change 2 of your students with the other team. He began. This made Kurenai's eyes widen in startlement. Which one, sir? She asked as she pleaded to Kami it wasn't who she think it was. Hiruzen could easily tell that Kurenai already figured who was going to be exchanged, but he decided to say it anyway. I had decided to change Sakura Haruno and Hinata Hyuga. He declared with complete seriousness. Kurenai's eyes turned into shock from confirming her fears. May I ask why? This team was specifically made for tracking. If you change even one, it will make this team null and void on its purpose. She asked as she made a last-ditch effort to convince the Hokage to keep Hinata on her team. Kakashi then lazily raised a hand. Since I had already agreed with this decision, can I just leave, again? He asked. Hiruzen sighed to this, exactly knowing the real reason behind Kurenai's reaction while nodding to Kakashi, and the silver-haired Jonin gave an eye smile as he left this smokeless shushin. This made him sigh again as he turned towards Kurenai. I realized that the possible results of the current team lineup would have resulted with drastic consequences. He began to explain. Drastic consequences? What do you mean, sir? Kurenai asked, not understanding what her leader meant. Explain to me this, Kurenai. How do you think Team 7 would have been if Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno were one unit? The Hokage then questioned. Kurenai held her chin in her hand as she thought it over. Most likely there will be friction. She deduced as she had heard some of what had happened between the three from Hinata, but she still didn't saw the logic in this for the exchange. Hiruzen nodded to that. Yes, that is correct, and at first I agreed with Hinata being in this unit for the earlier purpose of being a tracker unit specialist. But now I realize that I do not think that will happen as soon as I hope. He began to elaborate. This made Kurenai felt slightly insulted, but she kept it inside as she knew she couldn't sound disrespectful in front of their leader. What are you implying exactly? She then questioned, trying desperately sound as composed as possible. Hiruzen could easily detect the animosity inside of female Jonin. While I do not question your skills nor your abilities, and I do know that with time Hinata may improve under your watch. He began. This made Kurenai to calm down as he could feel the complete honesty in the Hokage's tone. Then why, sir? She asked. The reason is simple. There is one thing that even if you wanted to help to improve you still would be able to, and you should know why Hinata would need a longer time to improve, don't you? The old Hokage stated. This made Kurenai narrow her eyes as she knew exactly what he meant. After all, how couldn't she? She had been with her for a long time and she saw most of her life when she did come to visit her at her home. Though I do care for Hinata and may help her improve her skills as a kunoichi, I can't help her improve her confidence as one, is that it? She then deducted. The elder Hokage nodded in response to that. Correct. While I concluded that she may improve her confidence if she is placed on Team 7. You may be asking yourself, why? Correct. He soon asked. Kurenai immediately nodded in response as part of the answer became clear to her. It's because of Uzumaki, isn't it? She deduced as she couldn't help but smile at how Hinata would always act whenever she was in the presence of the blonde. Hiruzen smiled as he saw that this was for the best for the girl she cared for. In a sense, that is correct. Naruto-kun should help bring up her confidence greatly being on the same team with one another. He informed her. I also researched Sakura Haruno, learning that she is more of a genjutsu type like yourself and she needs a female role model like yourself so that she could improve in her demeanor. He then advised. Kurenai began to give some serious thought to everything that was said and the reasoning that were given very carefully, and after a while she gave the Hokage a nod. Very well, I understand and will accept this decision. She responded with a sad smile. Back to the present time. Kurenai looked at Hinata with her eyes for another moment as could only smiled sadly as she could see both the happiness and the small confidence boost she gained just by being next to Naruto. I guess this really is for the best. She concluded that the exchange of students was really is for Hinata's sake and was now completely convinced that Hinata should be in this team. Kurenai then regained her composure as he gave a professional look. Team 8, come with me. She then ordered as Kiba, Shino and Sakura walked down and followed her out the door, with Sakura giving one last look of longing towards Sasuke, whom only ignored her very existence before glaring at Hinata and Naruto. Then a man with tan skin who was smoking a cigarette stepped forward. Team 10, come on. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji left with the man. And so one by one, each of the senseis called out to their genins and left, leading to Naruto. Sasuke and Hinata were the only three left along with Iruka. Soon an hour passed and still no one showed up, but unfortunately Iruka had to leave as he had some business to take care of. Naruto was soon laying on the desk with a very annoyed expression on his face. Where the hell is our sensei? He then asked, starting to get a little irritated. We've been waiting for a whole hour. He shouted while he scratched his head with much frustration. Hinata shyly looked at the blonde. He should have been here by now. She meekly got out as she then blushed dark red when she recalled what had happened. I still can't believe it. I was kissed by Naruto-kun. She happily thought as she hid her face behind her hands. He'll get here soon enough. Sasuke grunted out with mild irritation. On the inside, however, Satsuki was ready to blow a gasket. Where the heck is that sensei of ours? This guy doesn't seem reliable, whoever he is, if he late a whole hour. Satsuki thought with anger. Soon another 2 hours had passed and it was obvious to all that Naruto had already blown a gaskets, multiple times by now. While Sasuke was twitching every so often as he was clearly wanting to hit something, with excessive force. And Hinata was still waiting patiently like an angel, though inwardly, she was also starting to get annoyed as her nearly infinite patience was almost at its end. Naruto was shivering with uncontrollable anger as a result. 3 fucking hours. He then roared with fury. Kami damn it. Satsuki roared in complete agreement on the inside, while Sasuke merely slammed his head against the table. Hinata simply nodded with slightly annoyance on her face. This is hardly appropriate for a sensei to be this late. She commented. Now she can forgive mostly anything, but she was taught at a young age to always be potential to anything, so even her patience was at its end. Naruto groaned at the increasing frustration as then suddenly, a spark of inspiration came to Naruto as he looked at the entrance of the door and smiled mischievously. This is going to be humorous. The QB merely remarked with a chuckle. Naruto could only chuckle at the fox comment as he created a few shadow clones. The clones simply nodded with a evil grin on each of their faces as they already knew what the original wanted, then they all jumped out the window. Both Sasuke and Hinata watched this with confused expression on their faces. Naruto-kun, where are they going? Hinata timidly asked as she tapped her index fingers together while Sasuke was wondering the same thing. Naruto's smile didn't go away as he looked at his Hyuga teammate. Ooh, I just have a little thank you present for our sensei for making us wait. He vaguely stated. Sasuke only sighed at this. We're going to get in trouble for this. He commented in a not so convincing way, while on the inside Satsuki was cheering like a crazy person. Yes. Get a prank ready. This guy deserves this for making us wait. She begged without anyone hearing it. I don't know about this. Hinata fearfully stated. Sure, she was annoyed at their new sensei for being late, but she still didn't want to disrespect said new sensei. As if reading her thoughts, Naruto grinded at her. Hey, if the new sensei is this late, I think he deserves some punishment, don't you think? He stated, asked the shy girl. Satsuki meanwhile was grinning widely on the inside as she was fully on board with this. Hell yeah, she thought as Sasuke only shrugged in response. I guess so. He simple said with indifference. This made Hinata to widen her eyes in surprise at the Uchiha's reply, as she would had thought he would had either ignore everything or say something against it, but seeing that they both agreed, she wanted to side with her new teammate's decision. Well, he did made us wait 3 hours and I do guess he does deserve some sort of punishment. She timidly agreed. Upon hearing the timid girl's answer, Naruto's grin doubled in size. Alright, let make that lazy sensei get what's coming to him, Dadbao. He cheered. The two teammates gave a much less cheered comparison to their blonde teammate, but they were still fully on board with this. No sooner this happened, the clones returned with two of them holding a large pail as it sagged with something heavy while they were clearly having difficulty holding them. You going to explain what you've got in those dobi? Sasuke then asked with a raised eyebrow while Satsuki was really curious and excited with what the blonde had in mind. Hee, let's just say that he's gonna need a long shower after this since this is going to get bit dirty. Naruto stated with a shit-eating grin on his face. His teammates looked at him with a confused expression as they didn't understand what he meant by that. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Hinata timidly asked. Naruto didn't stop grinning as he signaled his clones to the door of the room. You'll see, Hinata-chan, he simply said as said girl blushed at being called Chan again. Then when the clones dumped the content of the sag, they disappeared. Naruto gave one last evil smile as he did a few hand seals. Now then, it's pranking time, Dadbao. He declared in excitement. At that moment, the door opened and Kakashi stepped through. He then started to chuckle as he waved to his new team. However, when he stepped forward to fully enter the room, sorry I'm late, I got lost on the road of life and was all Kakashi could say. Timber, Naruto declared. No sooner he yelled, A massive wall of mud fell right on top of Kakashi and completely buried him as only the top part of his silver hair could be seen. This made Naruto began to laugh his off while the Kyuubi joined him inside of the seal. "Oh man, that was hilarious," he roared. "Nice one." Kyuubi agreed while he continued to laugh. Oh my. Hinata got out as a giggle attack took hold of her. Sasuke only smirked at what had happened, while Satsuki joined Naruto in laughing but internally. That was genius, she thought to herself. Kakashi's head managed to get out of the massive mudslide. This is, he muffled out as he spat some of it out of his mouth through his mask before sighing. A punishment for being late isn't. He then guessed with a sweat drop. The trio stopped when they heard that and then looked at each other for a moment and then continued to laugh and giggle like before. Kakashi then gave a deadpan expression to the trio. "I'll take that as a yes then." He got out as he looked at the laughing blonde. "He reminds me so much of Obito that it's a bit frightening," he thought to himself as a sweat drop fell from his head. "You made us wait, you get a face full of mud dadbayo," Naruto proudly stated. "Just be glad I didn't decide to go to the bathrooms and get shit instead," he added. Kakashi just sighed as he saw that this prank was a decision the group made together so he couldn't say the "I hate you" comment he wanted to say. "Meet me at the roof in 10 minutes. Kakashi said as he then did a hand sign and disappeared in a puff of smoke as the mud fell down. Naruto began to finally calm down as he took a deep breath. "Man, that was satisfying. Serves him right for making us wait," Naruto commented with a big grin on his face. Hinata had finally stopped her giggle attack as she wiped a tear from too much giggling. That was really funny Naruto-kun," she said with a small giggle or two escaping her lips. You finally did something useful," Sasuke commented with a small smirk. "Awesome job Naruto-kun," Satsuki thought with much happiness. "We better clean this up," Hinata commented as she saw the huge pile of mud. "Let the Dobi handle it. It's pretty much obvious that he has an advanced clone jutsu to use and it's his fault to begin with," Sasuke stated with his hands in his pockets as he walked out of the room. "Fair enough," Naruto simply said as he did as he was told and made some clones and they began to clean up, all the while the clones were nagging about a lazy boss. With that, the trio then headed to the roof where their very dirty sensei was waiting. The Hokage sighed as he watched the entire event play out. He'd had clearly was expecting the blonde to pull a prank the way he easily got annoyed and having him wait 3 hours was asking the sun not to go around the planet. He really did bring this one upon himself, he admitted as he continued to watch the three, already knowing the Anbu members were on standby to pick up both Naruto and Sasuke afterwards. On the roof of the academy, Naruto, Hinata and Sasuke had finally arrived where their sensei was waiting for them. They sat on the steps as Kakashi leaned on the railing. Sasuke was doing his usual brooding, Hinata was playing with her fingers while ever so often stealing some glances from her crush, while said crush was leaning lazily onto his back, watching the clouds. On the inside of the seal, we could hear the Bijuu snoring while he mumbles about girls and their assets, much to the dismay of his host since he had to herd them. "So, who wants to start introductions?" Kakashi asked curiously. This instantly gained the frustrated blonde's attention. "What kind of introduction?" Naruto then asked. Kakashi lazily shrugged his shoulders. "You know your likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams for the future, and favorite position," he listed off carelessly. Naruto soon started choking on some spit. Hinata's face turned crimson red while Sasuke's face was mildly flushed, but on the inside she was both embarrassed and pissed at her new sensei. "Wait, what was that last one?" Naruto coughed out while Sasuke and Hinata blushed madly at what he said. Back at the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi slapped his face onto his desk, hard, in annoyance at what he had just heard. "Kakashi!" he screamed out, causing his paperwork to fall over after sorting out nicely after doing it for 10 hours straight. He twitched 3 times as he looked at all the paper scattered on the ground. FFFUUUU. Kakashi smirked beneath his mask. Whatever do you mean? He commented as if didn't had a clue what the blonde meant, while the three genin just looked at him with a sweat drop. This had woken up the QB as he gave off a perverted grin at the mention of the last bit. I prefer the downward dog style. Or in my case, the downward fox. He declared. Shut up. Naruto roared back in his mind with a deep blush on his face. Hinata's face was still nuclear red as she took a quick glance at the embarrassed blonde-haired boy before her blush became even deeper crimson. Did he seriously ask that? Satsuki exclaimed as she felt dizzy at the thought of being in a position. That was when an image of her fantasies began to gather in her head. The same one from after Naruto hugged her. Whipped cream. She mumbled out with her head the same shade of red as Hinata's. When none of his students spoke up, he decided to be the first one to break the ice. Okay, I'll go first then. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I have many likes and dislikes. My goals in life are none of your business. I've got lots hobbies, but mostly I like to read. The three sweat dropped at his introduction. So all we got is his name. They thought simultaneously. Lame. The QB deadpanned. And he's that damned fourth student. He then thought to himself. Seeing that the trio still didn't spoke, Kakashi decided the pecking order. Alright then, he began as he gained the trio's attention once more before he then pointed towards Hinata. Your first little mouse, he joked. Hinata gulped while blushing as she began to think of what to say. After a moment or two she was more or less ready. My name is Hinata Hyuga. She introduced herself as she tried to calm her nerves down. My likes include my teammates, C cinnamon buns, my family, she continued as she sneaked a glance at Naruto, and a C certain boy. She added with a whisper that was barely heard. My dislikes are rapists, K kidnappers, K kumo, and bullies. She stated as again a small shivered at remembering all of the bad experiences, but she quickly recovered. My hobbies are F flower pressing, A and reading. My dream is to unite my family and BW with a C certain boy. She stuttered out as her face had a red flushed expression. Kakashi nodded as he looked on. Not a bad introduction, but we'll have to work on her confidence. He thought. Naruto was blushing as he remembered the accident that happened earlier, but he then calmed down as he felt really bad. Man, was I stupid. Here was such a nice girl I could had get along with and I wasted all that time with Sakura. He thought to himself. Upon hearing this, QB sighed as he knew why his host felt like that. He then gave a calm yet serious expression. Give it time, Kit. The Hyuga's been infatuated with you for years since you unintentionally helped her twice. He stated. Huh, when did I ever do that? Naruto asked, not understanding what the Biju meant by that. QB gave another sigh to that, but this one of annoyance. You'll find out later, he said with much annoyance in his tone. Decided. I bet certain lavender eyes should be the one to tell the idiot. He thought to himself with a chuckle. Naruto raised an eyebrow but decided not to press the matter. Sasuke meanwhile looked at her and smirked. Not bad, maybe if she ever find out the truth about me, we may could be friends and maybe even best friends. Satsuki thought, wanting another friend but more so a female best friend. Alright then, Kakashi began as he then pointed towards Sasuke. Your turn, Ducky. He then casually ordered, still with the same joking tone. Sasuke gave an annoyed look at the mention of how his hairstyle is before looking up and sighed. I don't even like this hairstyle. I prefer my long hair over this short one as Sasuke. Satsuki declared in her mind with complete annoyance as Sasuke looked slightly offended. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I have a few hobbies including reading and training. I like learning new jutsu and a certain person. He declared while inside of his head, Satsuki blushed at remembering a certain blonde. But not wanting to look strange in front of the others, Sasuke continued. I strongly dislike fangirls as they are disgraces to what it means to be a kunoichi and won't leave me alone. My dream is to bring in a certain man in for justice and restoring my clan. He stated. Though, not in the way many would think. Satsuki thought as her imagination started going wild again, this time her thinking of being a mother and having a very kinky wife foreplay. But she quickly put a halt to it or risk showing everyone seeing Sasuke blushing like Hinata. I really can't wait to reveal my true self. I frickin' Satsuki Uchiha, damn it. Not some duck butt haired prick. She added in even more annoyance. Kakashi looked on, keeping his cool demeanor. Interesting, seems Naruto has had a bit of an affect on Satsuki already. He thought as he didn't find out about the little episode that Satsuki almost got. Alright then, he then turned to Naruto. Your last sunshine, he stated with the same tone as before. Naruto grew a tick mark on his forehead before shaking his head and grinning widely when he started his introduction. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. My hobbies include training, pulling pranks, and meeting new people. I like ramen and getting to know more about two certain girls. He began. Hinata blushed heavily at the thought of her being one of those two girls that he wants to get to know more about, but then she quickly calmed down as he full processed what her crush said. Though I do wonder who the other girl was, it can't be Sakura-san. She thought with confusion. Meanwhile, Sasuke had a small smirk behind his hands while for Satsuki, she lost all of her previous annoyance as she felt lightheaded. There's no way that Naruto-kun is talking about me, could he? She thought, only to blush scarlet at the thought of being in a very intimate relationship. But it's still so quick. I mean he's handsome as hell, but I. She trailed off as she then became more flustered and embarrassed from the possible yet very lewd thoughts that began to form in her head. Naruto-kun. I can't be. She tried to convince herself, but was become more and more unsure of herself. Unaware of what his new teammates were thinking, Naruto continued. I don't like arrogant people who think they're above or superior to others, nor do I like people that judge others without knowing them, but what I really hate are people who would hurt those close to me. And my goal in life is to become the Hokage so people will respect me, but he declared proudly as he then closed his eyes and then slowly opened them when the three around him looked at the strong, protective and courageous-filled eyes. I want to be strong to protect those precious to me. He concluded with conviction and strength as Hinata and Satsuki smiled at how Naruto think very fondly at his cherished people and would grow strong just to protect them. Inside of the seal the Kyuubi was resting on top of his paws as he had a small yet proud smile on his face at the words his host gave with passion. Looks like I was right about a human. For once. He thought to himself. Kakashi I smiled at his introduction. He's more like them that I could had ever imagine. He thought with much happy yet sad tone. But he quickly stopped himself or he would get lost in the past, again. Alright then. Now that introductions are done, let's talk about our first exercise. He then stated. Sasuke raised an eyebrow in confusion, not really understanding what their new sensei meant by that. He then asked. Kakashi gave another eye smile to that. Hoping you asked that, simply. Survival training, he plainly stated. This made Hinata tilted her head slightly in equal confusion as her teammate. But didn't we already do the training during the academy? She questioned. Kakashi nodded. You did, but it will be different this time around as I will be your opponent. He stated gaining the trio's attention to that. Each of the new genin teams are all doing something similar with their senseis. Your graduation test was so you could receive your headband and this survival training is to see if you have the right to keep them. He declared with absolute seriousness in his tone. The three gulped at this realization and they each gained either a nervous look or had a cold sweat ran down their face. Calm down, it will be something simple. Kakashi replied. You'll meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 5 o'clock for your test. He instructed. Naruto dropped his head to that reveal. It's in the morning, isn't it? He stated more than asked as he really wasn't a morning person. Kakashi I smiled again. On the mark kid. Also, I suggest you don't eat breakfast, you'll puke if you do. See you then. He then advised as he suddenly exploded in white dense smoke, leaving the three on the roof. The trio were left baffled as they were worried what kind of survival training will be. Eventually, they all decided to head down the stairs and out of the academy. While they were walking down the stair, Hinata was looking a little worried. She started, gaining the other two attention. I better be heading home and get ready. She then added as she really wanted to spend more time with Naruto, but she knew she really had to get ready. Upon hearing this, Naruto simply waved his hand in dismissal. It's alright, I'll see ya tomorrow, Hinata-chan. Oh, and make sure you eat a good breakfast. Naruto suddenly said. Hinata was utterly shocked at what her crush told her to do. But Kakashi-sensei she started. He was late to our meeting. For 3 hours, I seriously doubt that he's the type to actually arrive on time. So take advantage of that and come fully prepared. Sasuke explained. That, and there's no way in hell I'm enduring waiting another 3 hours on an empty stomach. Satsuki ranted in her mind. On this explanation, made Naruto smirked. As much as I hate to admit it, but the Tem is right, Naruto admitted with clearly fake dislike for the Uchiha. Then he turned and looked back to the shy Hyuga. So like he said, be prepared for anything tomorrow. He added. After thinking from her new teammate's statements for a moment, Hinata nodded her head in agreement. Alright, I'll be sure to be fully prepared and I'll see you tomorrow. She replied as she shyly waved at Naruto and gave a formal bow to Sasuke, which annoyed Satsuki, as she soon started heading down the road that led her to the Hyuga compound. This left both Naruto and Sasuke by themselves at a street corner. When they saw Hinata was finally out of sight, Naruto turned towards his remaining teammate. Well, we better, was all that Naruto managed to say when 3 Anbu suddenly appeared in front of them, shocking the two genin for a moment. What the? He thought as they both unconsciously got into their battle stances by pure instinct. All 3 Anbu were completely unaffected nor even shown even a single reaction to this. Hokage-sama has requested an audience with you too. The Anbu with the red hawk mask said. Upon hearing this made both genins to drop their guards as they looked at each other in confusion. For what exactly? Sasuke calmly questioned as he raised an eyebrow. While Satsuki was really nervous, she liked the old man Hokage, but she was always scared at going to his office because of the fear of her secret finally been found out. Oh Kami, what's gonna happen? Did someone find out somehow? Satsuki thought in a panic. Top secret. The Anbu with the green grasshopper mask said. Then the one with the yellow tiger mask stepped forward. We were only told to bring you immediately. He stated as he and the one in the grasshopper mask one placed a hand on their shoulders, both kids sharing a look of concern before they disappear in a puff of smoke.